Welcome back to the Six Invitational, and we are moving into Group C now. Woohoo! Triple J's here. Okay, enthusiasm.
I'm excited,
Woo!
Jackie.
Isn't Triple J an Australian radio station?
What?
I think it is. I'm pretty sure Dev can back me up on this if he's watching.
Okay, someone in Twitch chat figure that out and let us know. I definitely don't
Guaranteed.
know.
I cannot confirm or deny.
I love how my intros with you two, I just never know what's going to happen. You had a telescope, you're talking about a radio station, but you know what we're going to talk about now? The face-off at hand. I don't know about y'all, but I am particularly excited about this one. BDS versus OXG.
I like this because the last time we saw BDS and Oxygen face off, quarterfinals of the Charlotte Major, 2-0 for OXG. Both of them were overtime maps in a bona fide upset that knocked BDS out of the tournament when they were one of the favorites. Back when Rafal was still on the team, back when they thought they were about to take the world by storm after a really, really good stage one in the EUL, it wasn't to be. OXG would not go very far in that tournament. They would lose their next game to Astralis in pretty heartbreaking fashion. But what we're seeing is a rematch. BDS are going to want revenge, and OXG are going to want to prove that BDS losing to CAG yesterday is a really bad sign of things to come for the French.
BDS, obviously a team that everybody was kind of expecting to do really well this tournament. Most of us analysts have them winning the entire thing. I think I still do, despite the fact that they did lose yesterday. It was a tough game against Cyclops. It was one that I think kind of caught them off guard. CAG, first match of the tournament, is always going to be a little bit of an interesting one. But at least they kind of bounce back, right? They have that opportunity now against Auctions, another tough opponent.
Okay.
But I still do have a lot of faith in BDS. They've been through a lot as a team, and it does feel like they're finally at their peaks. But this will be another good test for them against maybe a team that has a little bit more of a traditional playstyle.
I was going to ask you if you thought this was a fluke or setting a precedent, so you're still fully confident in them.
Yeah.
I feel like this would make me really shaky for them and nervous.
I think like you go back and you look at the stats, right? 35% yesterday on attack, 29% conversion rate, meaning that they were getting a good amount of opening picks. They just couldn't turn those opening picks into wins, particularly when they're on that attacking side. And so I think you take a team like CAG, and they're a team who are going to, on defense, challenge you a lot. They're going to swing you a lot. They're going to kind of claw back those man disadvantages. I think it makes sense that BDS maybe struggled against that. Maybe didn't expect it for the very first day. So we'll see.
Okay, I just saw Jacob doing the Jacob look, and he was going, yeah, the infamous Jacob.
Yeah,
I can't do it. Go show Jay. It's like this. Is that good, Jacob?
It's with the eyebrow raise, too.
Oh, it's the eyebrow raise. I messed it up. So I was just like, I know that Jacob wants to pipe in here about that initial loss for BDS. I feel like maybe you have a different opinion?
It's mostly just thinking about the doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
Because if CAG were the team that everyone was going to farm points from because they have a rookie, it's a Cyclops team that literally never made it out of playoffs or into playoffs at any international event they've been to. They just took down everyone's favorite. And how much further can this ship sink for a BDS squad that was meant to be favorites? That's just what goes through my head, especially as someone like me who was turned into a BDS fan off a meme from 3 years ago, now seeing how far they've already risen to the top and how quickly it all could come crashing down. Something about teams winning a major and then 3 months later, all of a sudden not coming back in the exact same form that we thought. That same trend is continuing, and we don't want to see BDS slip even further than this. The CAG game needs to be the low point. Any lower, and they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if BDS, if they were the type of team who lets one loss get to them and throws them off tilt for the entirety of the tournament, I don't know if they would have won back-to-back international tournaments. And sure, the first couple maybe weren't the highest of level. However, they won the major, right? They are going to be the favorites coming to this still, and they went through a lot to get to that point. I don't think BDS are a perfect team, right? I think this is a team that does struggle. They've struggled when they won Young Shipping. They struggled when they won the Japan Invitational. They've had their faults absolutely in every one of those tournaments. However, they've always been able to bounce back. And so I'm not super worried about BDS. Shaiko still had a fantastic day yesterday, right? They still had some great players, some great moments. So yeah, I'm not too worried. If things get bad today, as you said, Jacob, then we're panicking, then we're scared, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse's making valid points. BDS may be a little bit off kilter, but Jacob, they're still a fierce opponent. I do wonder how OXG is thinking about all this. Like, what are they planning?
OXG are heads held very high right now. I caught them in the elevator last night, and I specifically asked Redeemer, who I've had a couple disagreements with in the past. I asked him, do you want me to say anything, or is there anything that you're thinking about for tomorrow in order to like set the record straight? Now is your opportunity. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, don't say anything. All we want to do is prove it because we know they're weak. And that's a really big problem.
That just gave me chills.
Especially considering OXG's win against Astralis yesterday. Looked pretty impressive and is also on track for the way that they were preparing from the end of stage 3 last year onto this event. It's on the right track, and it seems like if that momentum can keep it going into a BDS win, OXG are probably an underdog not that many people saw coming, and that's what's feeding them a lot of this energy right now.
Okay, Jesse, I just want to give you credit because you were hyping up Newers.
Is that me?
Yes, it was
Is
you.
that me, Jackie?
And Newers certainly popped off our day 1 MVP. So
Love this kid. He's popped off all throughout the NAL. It's been his standout year, of course, rookie year coming
Wait a
through.
second. We're comparing him to Shaiko?
We absolutely are. And take a look at those stats. He's beaten Shaiko, or at least very close in the majority of them. He had a fantastic day yesterday. These are the previous day's stats, of course. They did play slightly different games. Shaiko, of course, playing against Cyclops, Newers against Astralis, but they both had really strong performances. And Shaiko, many people would tell you right now, is the best player in the world. And I wouldn't disagree with that. But Newers is absolutely making his case. And by the end of this tournament, who knows what we'll be saying, right? So yesterday was a great showing from Newers. I also wanted to take a look at some of their previous stats throughout the year that they've had, because again, these are two players that have been dominant across multiple tournaments, across multiple international events where they had to face the best teams of the world. We'll get those stats up in a minute. I really do think that Newers is a standout player who can come in, especially when it matters, right? He's that type of player who can make those huge plays. We saw him on Border yesterday. We, of course, saw that ace back on Bank. I think he started a little bit slow on the entry because he is that entry player. It's always going to be his role. However, he turned it up by the end of it. He was 8-3 entry yesterday. Started off, I think, with one opening engagement on map number 1. For him to step that back up, for him to kind of reclaim that throne was really, really impressive. And here we go, the stats. LAN year 7, all previous international competitions from this season.
That's honestly pretty impressive.
that is impressive.
Mostly considering that Shaiko was never the kind of entry to sink to the low of crutching Finka when a lot of other people did. And I'm not saying that everyone who played Finka was crutching it, but when you have someone that potent for the first half of last year, you're going to be using her as often as possible. And Newers was doing that, then kept things consistent in stage 3 when that nerf came in, was still playing the exact same way. And in spite of not going to Yongshiping, when they were figuring all of those issues out and trying to figure out what to do with Sweater and Vertical, he was there locking down Yana, locking down frag operators, ensuring that he was always the difference maker, and he was never, for any particular reason, the problem. I still think it's crazy that we're comparing him to Shaiko in a moment like this. It's absolutely warranted given his previous performance, and he also knows how good he is. He's not like in his own head about his own performance thinking that it's better than it actually is. He's definitely in the right mindset. He's got the confidence to carry himself through things, which is a cold contrast to Shaiko's own calculating method of playing Siege, monitor directly in front of his face, always playing to win every single gunfight in spite of how much HP he loses. It's a dramatic comparison, but it's absolutely worth it given how we've seen Newers play.
Okay, I really like that side-by-side of Shaiko and Newers. Newers seemed like ready to go and excited, and Shaiko was like dialed in, right? But we do have our map ban info up. So Jesse, tell me what you're thinking.
Well, we're going to start back on Bank, and this is the map pick for BDS. They were undefeated through 4 games in stage 3. Now, they did lose its Liquid in the Yongshiping finals. However, still a very good win rate, 80% in stage 3, 67 throughout the year. It's a very strong map for BDS. Oxygen then pick another good map for themselves. We go to Border for them. They lost it to PV back in stage 3, then again to Astralis here in Montreal, but they did force it into overtime. So although it's one that they've had their struggles on, I still think it's one that they can perform.
Best of 3 that they played in Charlotte was both Skyscraper and Oregon, and we're seeing a completely different cadre of maps.
Yeah, those are gone immediately.
Yeah, because neither one of them were going to be options for BDS realistically. Again, that previous series they played was 2 maps in overtime, and OXG pulled off the upset win when it was only that, like, few rounds you need an OT to take home the victory. victory. But if we need a decider in Charlotte, it was supposed to be Club. Here, it's also supposed to be Club. So we'll finally get to see that one map that didn't happen from 9 months ago if this requires all three.
And Clubhouse against BDS, my God. There are 13 wins on the year for that map. That is a scary one for Oxygen.
I'm getting a little nostalgic right now, okay?
Why?
Because we're kind of throwing it back to NAL circa 2021 with my NA analyst desk. Yeah, and I'm going to be tossing a blue and Stokes. So take it away. I'm just getting a little watery-eyed. Oh, my NAs. But also, we have the Stream Beat pre-show.
All right, thank you very much, Jack. You had to cut her off there a little bit because it's game time, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ourselves ready for BDS versus Oxygen to round out the Alpha stream here for the day. Two of the currently top-rated players in the tournament as well on either team for this one, so it is bound to be an interesting game just on that basis alone, not to mention expanding beyond that, of course. BDS having a bit of an upset against them, and Oxygen having to really work their way through their own first match yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of people thinking that Cyclops is going to beat the recent major winners, BDS. You know, Shaiko playing lights out, but the rest of the team not there. I hope we don't have the same case here today because Oxygen is definitely firing on all cylinders. I'm excited to get into this one. We have a pretty interesting map pool here, especially with Clubhouse coming into play. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe Oxygen hits them where it hurts in Clubhouse, as they have that fantastic record. As Jesse was saying, I believe 13-1 in recent history, which is just ludicrous, honestly.
We're going to be starting out on Bank. We actually got to start our other series of the day out on Bank earlier. Big tail of the tape going into that match was just how attacker-sided Bank has been of like the 2 to 3 plays we had going into that one. Stats, I believe, remained relatively the same since then. Things looked a little bit better when we saw G2, of course, hop onto that defensive side, but we'll be testing both of these teams once again and paying close attention to how they do, because once more, it has shown itself to be a very, very tough map to rack up a large number of rounds on that defensive side so far from the plays we've had here in Canada.
Absolutely. Initially, it was not a very fun map as we started things off for our previous series, but things started to work in the favor of the offense more and more as we did get things down. Had a couple of nice stand-up rounds from the defense, though, especially from the basement. I think we had one pretty successful one inside of open area as well, so still have a couple of opportunities for them to work their way into this map defensively, but I do agree with you. I think it's going to be pretty hotly contested from that point of view, so we'll have to see what BDS can muster as they'll be starting from the downward position when it comes to this map. Looks like we're not going to have to wait long to get some results here, folks. LickyFack and the rest of the gang ready to jump into Bank, and so are we here at the Six Invitational.
Well, getting into it, we'll have the bands up on screen in just a moment. Let's see your community poll results first. 65% of you believing that BDS is going to take this one. Let's find out if you are correct about that one as we get ourselves into it. And the bands indeed begin. BDS has the first and final ban. Oxygen has the last attacker ban and first defender ban. Those will be the two orange ones you see in the middle. Zero is up first. Zero is actually very useful specifically on this map as well as a few others, and not only that, but Oxygen specifically loves to use Zero here, so this is basically a target ban against them. Oxygen as well going to bring Knock out of play once more. Knock sees far too much action on this map specifically and across quite a few of the others in more recent times as well, so a very good choice to be removed here.
Making a lot of sense so far. Really, really liking that Zero ban as well. Because as you said, Oxygen loves this operator. They also like to use him a lot on Chalet. So just a good thing to take off of their menu. Knock and Mira also obviously gone, and we're going to round this out with Azami. So making so much sense across the board here. Really just trying to thwart a lot of the defensive setup, defensive preparation with the mirror windows as well as the keep up barriers, and the Nook also taken out so that they don't have to worry about somebody trying to avoid the cameras down low, although for BDS's setup they really wouldn't have to in this scenario in the first place as they look to have a LEMS on the pulse for this one.
Basement's up first, which shouldn't really be too much of a surprise. We've already seen both teams earlier when we played this map, when we cast this map in our second series of the day, go directly for that one. It's still by far kind of the safest pick for most teams with regards to their defensive setup. So once more, BDS is going to be leaping directly on top of that. Shouldn't see a whole lot of repicks as a result of that from Oxygen unless they see an operator pick or two that surprises them. You can see here the repicks that we are getting are relatively minor in scope, but potentially going to evolve a little bit more. Fox is going to add that extra firepower, of course, by going over to the Twitch, feeling that the drone as well as the carbine that she'll be more likely carrying is going to be more needed than the Ash in this scenario. And the same can be said, of course, for Sweater. Swapping out the sledge, going to the Dokkaebi instead for the extra intel, and of course, just changing up the style of Hard Breach by moving Dream over to a different one.
Looks like we're going to have a little roam game going on here inside of open area initially for BDS, and this is honestly going to be a pretty strong play centralized around the pulse, being able to coordinate a decent amount of this, especially for the top floor clear. That will more than likely come in from Oxygen once they recognize what the situation's like. Looks like we might have some initial fights here, and that's what I was waiting on right there. I was just giving it some space. Sweater, dynamic when it comes to the DMR. A single shot's all that's needed, and Shaiko's already dusted. A terrible start for him.
Clean one from Sweater, though, and a nice start for him, as we did see him struggling a little bit in the matchup yesterday, so good to see him getting off to the right foot as soon as we get ourselves into this matchup immediately as well. 2 out of 4, of the Goyo cans now gone from Renshiro's arsenal as the Twitch drone sneaks right in and pops them both out of there. So all that delay utility now down for the count. Good to see they've got some fallback on that, though. BDS still with the smoke. We could see some usefulness come out of that in the eventuality that we get the security plant from Oxygen in about 2 minutes.
They have plenty of utility to try and get out of this situation. The issue is the way that they've set up the map, because a lot of this is open to the taking for Oxygen. They have to try and fight back, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to try and take it to vertical here on Marble Stairs, and it's working out initially. He's going to try and send a drone in here as well. Newers on the other side of the map, though, down inside of the garage, dealing some considerable damage over to Renshiro. They're trying to send some shots back, and Newers thinking about a reposition here, and why not? I mean, you're really just delaying time while the rest of your team tries to gather control of stock here, or rather, these servers, trying to work their way in towards the offices here. So they can get this plant down on the main wall. Oxygen doing a pretty bang-up job of keeping things open across the entirety of the map. You can see Foxy still up towards the lobby space as well. Keep BDS guessing. Also keep those avenues open for later on in the round. Never know when you can sneak in behind and get some big kills like this. Newers the patience play. It works out for him in Garage. 2 big kills coming his way, and more than likely a guaranteed plant.
Time continues to tick down. Oxygen feel they have the safety to be able to go for the plant themselves. They may be right about this dream, maybe too deep into it and just hard commit to it. Indeed, he will, and just barely escapes as well. One more tick from that one. He would have been a dead player here. Thankfully, wouldn't have meant too much, would have been lost for the Oxygen roster at the end of the day. They still had pretty much full control over this situation. Anyway, one more quick kill seals the deal, and they're first on the board at 1-0.
That's already 4 kills for Newers, by the way. Which, wow, just wow. All from the garage position. Able to gather that while the rest of the team is working the mid-floor, and constantly the Cloak and Dagger waiting out in the garage, picking people to shreds as they tried to cross over his line of sight. It's going to be the first round going over to Oxygen, and led off by a nice pick as well there from Sweater.
As we go deeper into the prep phase for round number 2 here. Oxygen, we'll see what they potentially look to change up with regards to their operator selection. They're specifically trying to cater anything for this specific site take. This tends to be a little bit more of a trickier one in terms of how players try to handle it. Yes, of course. Not giving us too many surprises with the way that they are looking to handle this one. Maybe bringing the Soulless in to allow Lems to get that extra roam presence upstairs, and Stocks as well as Janitor. And we'll have players like Renshiro still trying to trip up the entry game from Oxygen by throwing those goo mines out on the usual access points and the usual pain points the attackers will be looking to take control, giving them that extra audio cue from a distance as well as just slowing them down in a tense situation if this goes down to the timer when everything is said and done.
BDS are looking to get it back in blood, John. Going for the initial spawn peak here, but I don't think they're going to get too much. Oxygen playing it close to the chest, close to the building. Want to try and get themselves into any area where they could potentially be taken down by BDS. Lots of angles being played out now. Some castle barricade destruction coming in via the Flores drone. Plenty of soft destruction here in the likes of Sweater. Verticality could work its way in here, but doesn't mean that Oxygen just can't take this horizontally. A lot of options for them there as well. As you can see, E2 actually isn't reinforced. That would be a great positive angle to try and adopt into this play here. Cut down on some of those rotations over from Marble Stairs. They have a lot of presence on that top floor as well. Looks like Foxy wants to try and deal with this. He's going to readjust to the ATM's rappel.
Nothing to be found from that Twitch drone, but it's a little bit more work for Foxy to do We're going to checking things out here before he's going to feel the need to try and move forward and begin creeping into BDS's territory here. BDS doing a much better job of at least stemming the tide for that opening minute or so, not giving anything away here, but could very well change as Foxe nearly clips the head off of Renshiro. This time, though, it's going to be Shaiko getting revenge for the opener on the last round as he takes down Sweater first this time compared to the last round where he was the first to go down, if I remember correctly. That will leave BDS in charge of the situation currently at a 5v4 as we just passed the halfway mark on the round.
All right, Oxygen have set up their active combat zone and they've sent in the Terminator. Hear all of the pings going off via the logic bomb. Newers knows where a handful of these players are. He's going to quickly eliminate a Lems and dip back into blue. Whether there could be potentially a flank. Nothing coming though from BDS. He had no idea that he was even in the area, but always good to just cover your bases. Make sure that there's nothing that could potentially bubble over and ruining the round for you. Newers is going to adjust himself over to Marble Stairs. They found their initial pick, but that pick onto Sweater might be the one that's going to give them the biggest issue.
We're still creeping around here looking for a second target, but it's vertical next to be clipped off here. Like a fact, yet to be dealt with here at top square, so you'll get that one for free. So unfortunately, Oxygen not even looking out for that one. Dream, though, is there for the exchange. Finds a roaming Renshiro just beyond the wall into break room there. Foxe adding one to the counter as well. Finally dealing with the issue of like a fact somewhere around square, leaving just Bride and Shaiko alive deeper in open area, as well as the other site here. Bride ready to fend off the potential challenge hop in from break room. That's an easy shutdown against Dream. Will it be so easy for the others, though? For Bride, it will seem like it, but no! Foxe closes it down instead, and Oxygen clutches out just barely on the second round.
Fantastic angle work there from Fox, especially around the cubicle. Had to make it work out from the kitchen angle. Made the adjustment as well there. You saw for just a split second, adopted the wrong angle, but able to just bounce right under those shots. Come back up and find the significant bullet. Oxygen up 2-0 against BDS. The very first one, pretty considerable round. That one a lot more hotly contested as BDS had something to say, but just not a whole lot. Able to get it down into the 1 versus 1, but it was really a whole team effort just to get him there in the dying moments.
So as we move into round number 3 here, BDS is going to be positioning themselves up on the second floor. This is oftentimes one of the toughest ones for the defenders to properly maintain. Requirement to bring those castle barricades that you're seeing get set up over on the north side of this one, just so they can have some presence against the constant barrage of both utility and bullets that are going to be coming out from those northern repelled windows. Oxygen will be on those in just a few moments here. The defenders oftentimes have no choice but to give up a little bit of room to play into that, whether it's going to be janitor, meeting room, or even by rotating down and around to try and retake it from another avenue here. Let's see how successful BDS's hold attempt will be as Oxygen now out onto the board with a very similar lineup to what we've already had from them quite a bit here in the past few rounds.
On the assault, it's going to be Newers again. This time coming in from dirt. We saw him eventually reach this position inside the last round, about halfway through as he readjusted from a window position, more than likely adopted for the early round as they processed the top 2 floors there. This time, though, wants to start down low and see if he can sneak up one of these stairwells, potentially catch a roamer, could be moving across that base floor. As for BDS, it's going to be the top floor defense here for them as they're trying to hold things down inside of CEO. Fox is going to continue to try and hold things down across lobby, though, as he still has that ATM angle that he can adopt that we saw previously, as well as a few things he can play on the farther windows. Newers is going to miss some crucial shots, one you don't see very often, and one EFAC will be very happy with.
BDS trying to line up another play, and they'll make it. Shaiko surges forward on the inside of stock, finding the down of Sweater once again here. Eliminating the Ash from play. No crucial attacker utility has been lost due to both of these deaths, but the player count deficit is nothing to scoff at if you're Oxygen right now. Need to try and make up this kill in the next few seconds, otherwise this round may already be done and dusted. Fox 8, meanwhile, nearly losing his own life by trying to rappel around those glass windows over on the west side of the building. He's not able to line up any damage against his opponents here either, and eventually has to give up that position due to being shot back at. So we'll regroup with the other 2, try to push their way in from square in just a second here. Problem is, now that they have lost those extra players, they don't necessarily have the confidence, it seems, to open up the full execute, but they'll need to try and push towards it anyways. Dream starts things up, opening the far square wall. At least give them an access point to work their way in. Some good intel is found as well with regards to where Lycofac is trying to play down below in Archives, but Lycofac reads into it, realizes there's going to be pressure against him. baits it back a little bit more to try and waste out that extra time. So far doing a fantastic job of just wasting out the remaining presence Oxygen may still have on this map.
Back and forth, the Dream and EFAC go. Will eventually drop off into the lower domain. Try and come up main stairs here. Should be fairly straightforward for him, though. Foxy is going to adopt top square. Oh, BDS. Wow. Finally able to find a few members of Oxygen that were lurking over on this far side. Vertical's just going to send it into sight, because really, what else do you do in this situation? It's time to take some gunfights, isn't it? He'll get the first one, can't get the second, as Shaiko will shut him down. He's found himself. No more soul searching here for BDS. They have a round.
Clean coordination from BDS there as well. Basically no mistakes made along the way there. Yeah, 1 or 2 trades end up happening just as a result of gunfights being taken when they possibly could have not been taken. But at the end of the day, it's still BDS in full control of this entire map all throughout the round. Never really a risk of Oxygen taking it the other direction there. So some clean stuff indeed to finally put them on the board after 2 successful pickups so far from Oxygen.
That also means that BDS is going to get access to the lockers here again. They obviously complete things on the top floor, but not having won this, that means they can just send it right back downstairs and try and work it out all over. That complex of a puzzle, all about the hatch play here. Last time it was more of a open area kind of play, though, as they were trying to get in the faces of Oxygen, but it was pretty ill intent, as it seems. The Sweater was quickly able to take down Shaiko. That was the very first kill of this entire game, and it was a singular shot. That's all he needed, as he one-tapped him over inside of open area. And that really led to BDS just falling apart for the remainder of that round. You know, when your roam game kind of falls down and you have every hatch open for the basement site, not exactly going to benefit you all that well, and all that led to an Oxygen flawless round. So hopefully this one goes a tad bit better. Looks like BDS is going to have some certain tidbits around the site to slow them up, whether it be, you know, the Goyo canisters or the Yokais or the smokes. It's all going to work fairly well for them. We are going to have Shaiko on the Pulse here. That is something that you kind of touch on. This is a fantastic site for Pulse. Anything basement oriented is usually pretty solid for him, especially if there is verticality. On Bank, not so much, but he gets a fantastic read on the plant inside of the main bomb site over near the server end, just by standing over inside of Gold Vault. So that's usual we'll tend to see out of our Pulse players.
Newer's going for a very slow swing. Already passed Beeper, so has given off a small amount of intel, but they won't know he went for the actual stairs transition just yet, hoping there may have been a player from BDS at the halfway point down this next staircase itself. However, not really going to be met with much. He has to go for the full peek on this one and breed it. More than likely as a winning angle if he does commit to it. It'll take some sharp marksmanship skills from Newers to try and respond to that properly against Breed. Even with the assistance of the phone call here, it's not going to be helping him out too much. So you can understand the hesitation for most of Oxygen here, not wanting to try and push that play further forward. Foxy, of course, now opening up the back Gold Vault hatch here. Give the team a little bit more access. We've already seen players been able to use this one and get away with quite a bit, just with 1 or 2 players sneaking down that hatch. We'll see if there's going to be some potential for Foxy or maybe someone else to use that later on in the round. For the rest of the team, though, they are prepared to make the usual push deeper into server and eventually security here.
Plenty of time here for Oxygen. Newers with a big pick. Sweater trying to progress through the other angle. You can see the pinch kind of going on there as they attempted to distract from one angle, get a pick on the other. Doesn't work out for them. Fortunately enough, though, that will be Shaiko off the board. And it seems like Newers, time and time again, able to best him in these positions. These two titans of Siege go back and forth here on Bank. Oxygen looking for a position to try and get this bomb down. Let's see if they can try and force it onto the A site. Get rid of some of these Goyo canisters with that frag grenade, as Newers is going to go for a little swing. Get rid of the other canister here, and that'll clean up the majority of them, I believe, inside of the bomb site. So making things a tad bit easier for them to get this plant down. They have one on the far end here that they might have to deal with, but don't know if that'll roll over. Might be just out of reach if they just plant that at the proper point right past the cusp of the bomb site.
Norris has realized it. Trying to line up the nade for it now, but also may want to try and save that as a thing. He's trying to rationalize where's the best spot to try and put this one down. Goes for a deeper chuck to try and get some extra vision into the lockers room as well. Nice rotate coming in from Vert in the meanwhile. Somehow made this drop without getting noticed and just snipes out like a fact. Interruptions coming in from Alems. He still has the echo utility to be able to be used here. Nicely played out by Renshiro. Also, the time is up as a result of that one, and BDS will somehow hold on to the basement play and take another round for themselves.
All in the Yokai play. Echo all the way out inside of Garage, the single location that Oxygen did not check. Had players moving around, E1 moving their way into the central office area, trying to find where the remaining BDS members resided, but just some solid hiding places for them near the tail end of that round is all it took to get it over on Oxygen. But Oxygen, I mean, pretty quick work of the initial part of that round, getting set up pretty quick. But past that, BDS definitely making good on their promise when it came to the utility game. Able to constantly keep Oxygen back, those Goyo canisters being quite a nuisance and making it to where they didn't really have to baby the server area nearly as much as they normally would. And they could really focus on what was going on over near main stairs. And as well as that is just keeping the man count pretty equal when it came to their trades as the entries were coming through. Made it to where BDS were able to process that extremely well when it came down to those dying moments, especially with the Echo still up and those Yokais active.
5 seconds to insertion.
Well, dead heat now as we enter the final third of this half, and the final 2 rounds along with it. BDS looking to, of course, recenter themselves and take the larger majority of rounds from this half. But Oxygen on the attacking side, we would somewhat expect them to forge a path ahead. Going off of previous metas, of course, in his previous tournaments, we expect this one to be right around 3-3 or 4-2 in the favor of Oxygen, but we'll have to wait and see how exactly things pan out, and we can talk a little bit further about how things may evolve from that point. At the moment, though, just Oxygen trying to open up, well, pretty much everything they can here to get themselves some better access to open area. So not going to see any action evolve from that just yet, but it could be cooking up here over the next few seconds.
Well, some paperwork to get through first, though, John. Slide that passport over. See if you're getting across the border. Got some utility to at least get rid of here. Get rid of that little proximity scanner, as well as everything else. To make sure they don't have to worry about these cameras and everything else in between before trying to work their way across this top floor. BDS more than likely having some nitro cells in the wings. This is going to be the one on Shaiko, but they have a lot of utility that they can still use to get some information on the positioning of Oxygen upstairs. Lems is actually going to be around with Solus to be able to try and thwart a lot of the game plan when it comes to them clearing things out, but that's what Vertical's for. You have those logic bombs to try and assist you with that execution as well as positional awareness of the opposition. So big things here now, and that nitro cell going to land now for Shaiko as he's constantly been picking Sweater apart. Foxo pick a big one up onto Renshiro though as he's opened up the top floor.
Foxy just trying to pop out more panels, see what may present itself to him as he tries to pre-fire into a few angles. Like Fact, though, snipes out another player that was looking to try and get closer to the inside of the building as Dream is found out just outside of stock window. Newer's trying to rotate over, but obviously he's a little late to the party in terms of immediately trading this one out. More than anything, just here to grab the case. So we're still waiting to see how Vertical will also be adding his own prowess to this equation. Making himself outside and around right now to regroup with his teammates, and I think work his way in through Electrical to make the push through Square, while we still have Foxy, of course, looking to try and control things closer to the front end of the building here, focusing heavily on the drone game and giving those call-outs to Newers as well as Vertical about where the individual members of BDS are going to be playing closer to the chest in this site. 35 seconds to go as well, so we do need to see a bit more urgency from Oxygen at some point in the next 10 seconds here, otherwise they are more than likely going to end up running out of time to make this execute work.
This is starting to become impossible for Oxygen. It looks like they know where at least one player is, but the angles are bad for Fox. He can't find one where he can actually pick off this player. Shaiko's actually just waiting for him to fall down through this hatch so he can kill him. Looks like Likafak is going to try and come up behind him as well, and it works out for them. Alem's taking up Newers, and it should be a fairly straightforward kill for him. Take him down. Vertical will get one, but I don't believe he's going to get these next two, especially in 3 seconds. Smoke in, and well, not able to kill. Valkyrie can't get it, but neither can the Dokkaebi, but it'll be a BDS round there as BDS delays all of the time in staff room open area.
Oxygen not happy with what's been occurring over the past 3 rounds or so. BDS has made a massive swing comeback here with 3 rounds back to back to back, so that is going to prompt the early TO to come in from OXG before we reach halftime here, as they do need to figure out not only what they are doing wrong, just of course from this half's perspective, but on an overall game perspective too, potentially some things that could still be changed up when they go to the other side. That's where the input's going to be coming in from their coach right now, and you can hear him talking about it right there. Well, actually, you can't hear it anymore because obviously we probably have to mute that. But
Good job, John.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't believe you.
For the sleuthy ones, though, they heard his first 2 sentences. We went to his camera before we muted him.
That's what all the analysts are doing. They're like, clip that, clip that. What is that? What did he say?
Isolate Blue and Stokes' voice and remove it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can do that.
Enhance. No. So when it comes to what we've been seeing so far for these two, specifically for Oxygen, you really got to feel for them from the offensive perspective. Bank, the worst map that we have right now in the pool for defensive win rates. Actually, no, I take it back. Border is beating it by 1% right now. 47% for Border, 48% for Bank. But either way you cut that, it's still pretty trash. So as of right now, BDS giving a lot better than they should when it comes to this side. Locker CCTV tends to be obviously the most beneficial one for the defense, 64% for that. Second, CEO Lounge at 40%. Open area has actually fallen off. It's the third highest now at 38, and obviously Teller's Archives wrapping that up with a bow at a 25% success rate when the defense goes there.
10 seconds remaining.
So Oxygen with those 2 additional repicks. Not anything ground shaking, just moving Fox8 onto the Dokkaebi that Vert had originally selected. Vert apparently wants to play with Zoph, so that's what we've brought in for him. Like I said, though, nothing shattering with regards to how it's changed up the overall meta of this attacking composition for the defenders. As well, no huge surprises here for BDS as they play into Tellers. Lots of cam intel needed, so they are going to bring out the Maestro. The Renegades as well, quintessential in trying to block out some of those pivotal rotation points. And then your usual fare beyond that.
A lot of info game here for BDS. Bulletproofs, Evil Eyes, Valkyrie cameras. I mean, they know every single move that Oxygen's going to make throughout this.
3 nitros prepped and ready to go as well.
Right? Like, they're just going to drone strike them. It's going to be ridiculous calling the kill streak here.
They're also playing that extension over into open pretty good too, where I think I saw even a Cade electrical into one of those.
Oh, yeah.
So this is going to be a bit of a difficult one to crack for Oxygen here, but we'll see how exactly they look to approach it, as they're actually going to try to work their way in from the lobby office side here, getting them access to the elevator hallway. We had electrical sitting on that initially, but once more we do have those impact EMPs in the game now, which has allowed them to deal with that.
That's called lone office, and it'd be the worst office to own in this entire place because your view is the AC unit outside. It's not good. Or watching the cars go and park in the garage down
And you
low.
have to see those pesky customers all day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, anytime you walk to your main glass door, it's just like, ugh, why? First of all, why am I a
Someone
banker?
pulls you aside and asks you where the deposit slips are and everything.
Yeah, right. Just ridiculous. But Oxygen looking to cash this check here. Don't think that they're going to have to use credit on this one. Well, actually, they might need a loan now. Need another body here. A Sweater just constantly dying early right now. He had that first kill, and I think he was kind of feeling himself. He was like, ooh, I killed Shaiko, right? And then it's just not happening now.
Has flatlined a little bit since that first round, so waiting patiently for the moment when he wakes up here. We can start talking about that a little bit more, but Lems as well, feeling some confidence to swing up a bit further from the main stairs. Like a fact, just deleted vertical, yeah. With the silencer on it too, he does with a thump, and he bye-bye egos as Like a fact snipes out one more. Gonna go for a second one here too, if he can find the head, but it seems to be evading him currently. So he'll go for the rotation. Might be actually trying to maneuver towards a flank. So wait about 10 to 15 seconds, see if he can line himself up in a position to get towards that. Dream, though, will be able to find a response kill to this. Takes down Shaiko. Brings us into a 4v3 now.
The big issue right now is that I don't believe Oxygen have the means of production to put this case down. Like, in fact, still upstairs. You can play some counter angles, a lot of counter angles working their way in from the white stairs.
There he is.
Exactly. Dream was thinking only about challenging the bottom of that stairwell, so just makes it really, really impossible. And then Fox is going to step up to the plate as well. He knows where a multitude of them are.
That's the case.
But he's going to step up to the angle with the mag out of his gun, and that's not what you want to do.
There wasn't much he could really do at that point, unfortunately. Like I said, he had a really awkward position of the case down. Thought on that cross he probably would have magnetized, picked it up, but did not end up happening, so had to go for that repeak regardless, and I think he was sub 10 seconds also. Just not really a winnable situation when you look back at it at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Definitely not. He was a straggler.
Yeah.
He was just kind of at the back of the whole pack. It's like, wait up, guys. Yeah, but very unfortunate moment there for Fox, and I feel for him as well. Last week I died with like 3 grenades in my hand because I was holding the angle. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna nade him. And as soon as I pull the pin, dude, I get shot in my face. Like every time I back up, pull the pin, go to throw it. It's just the timing sometimes. It just don't work out for you, do they?
Let's see here if BDS can continue to time themselves well on the attacking side as they will swap back over towards that now as we enter round number 7. It's Oxygen's turn to take on the mantle the defensive side, and keep in mind, falling behind quite a bit on that attacking side previously. You'll need to work extra hard to try and make up the effort, otherwise we could be looking at a quick map number 1 here going into the favor of BDS. If the side advantage generally tends to sway this one in the way that we expect for these rounds to go. So here we go, BDS spawned out. Once again, we are going to see a little bit of a different flair here for BDS in terms of how they'll look to approach this one, a bit more of an EU flair, specifically looking over at like effect. There's the Montaigne will come out to play on their very first round. Usual assortment of supporting attacker utility going to be built up behind that, though no huge surprise, at least as far as I'm concerned.
I believe this is some of the only Monty play that we've actually gotten to watch as well, because he's been banned out so much for us. Seems like every map we go to, no Monty allowed, but this time BDS has it and ready to take it to Oxygen here. This could be the big game changer for their offensive side. Past that, the big thing, the big difference between BDS of yesterday and BDS of late happens to be the fact that the whole scoreboard is active. Look across that thing right now. It's not just the Shiko show. We love watching Shiko pop off, but you hate to see him lose when he does it. That's like the worst thing ever. You get 20 kills and you lose the game. Nobody wants that, especially in a competitive environment such as this. So, good for Shiko, good for the rest of BDS, good for our Yongshiping major champions, as they're looking to try and deal a death blow here to Oxygen on the offensive side. They now have that advantage after getting through the half on the defensive end, and in pretty convincing fashion as well, 4-2.
A bomb has been located.
Like a fact, grouping up with Renshiro to try to make the push over towards top blue. Have reached that pivotal rotation point here. Let's see how they try to push it further than this. They just bully their way in with the Montaigne. Well, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to do that, as there's a shield in the way, and a few toxic babes too, so that'll immediately prompt like a fact to turn himself around, and this is pretty much a direct counter to him until we see some utility chucked in that can actually eat up the shield and allow for like a fact to get a tad more aggressive. The only good news as a result of this is we are baiting out 30 seconds of smoke time early on in the rounds. They won't have it available, obviously, when push comes to shove in the actual site, but if they can't get past this top blue reinforcement, then it's all a moot point regardless. Dream will still have achieved the goal of delaying long enough to make the actual attack into the site not work out at the end of the day.
Well, this is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. The mountain versus smoke. Can he get around the shield? He can. Now this is going to make things pretty interesting for Dream. It was either get absolutely eviscerated by an AR or just let Monty beat the crap out of you. So pick your poison, my friend. I don't really know what you're into there. So whatever you want to get done. Looks like, well, at least for Oxygen, might be able to get this nitro cell out.
Oh,
and
no.
it will. It gets around the shield as well. Oh my God, how does that even happen? I'm so impressed that that nitro cell actually pulled that off. That almost never happens. Able to get all that damage off and around, all because of the sole nitro cell. It wasn't shot, the damage splash went through. Fantastic there from Oxygen.
Excellently played by OXG. A bit of a stroke of luck, like you said there, with the nitro cell ending up actually making the impact against the planter there. I thought for sure it wasn't going to work out as well there, considering the Montaigne, even I think it bounced off his shield onto the floor as well.
There's a key thing about Monty here that we always have to notate when it comes to explosions. He has a certain damage mitigation towards it, but it's only for himself. Anybody that's behind Monty, the explosive splash still hits them.
There you go.
Full breath. So
makes perfect sense there, even though the Monty did try to ping-pong it a little bit further away from his teammate, just didn't get it far enough at the end of the day. This still ends up impacting him. He goes down. BDS will start to falter a little bit with regards to their scoreline here, but only by that one round. Oxygen now just chasing the lead here. We'll have to see if BDS can hold on to it as Oxygen goes for the direct rotate up to the second floor here instead of trying what most teams have been going for, which is the open area for their secondary site.
And this is actually the second most winning defensive site as well at 40% here. Obviously the basement the most winning, as we touched on earlier. Oxygen is definitely bringing a heck of a different look than what we saw from Team BDS when it came to this site. We're going to have the shield in the hallway. We haven't seen people trying to benefit as much from that position there right outside of stock, at least when it comes to this tournament so far. We didn't have it in our last game. Nobody playing there this time around. I mean, you know, 3 months and all of a sudden the whole map's changed. What's going on with this, man?
Now we have to see how these teams look to evolve to that as BDS out and about once again here for round number 8. Looking to move themselves forward from the lobby side where we have this heavy amount of drone presence currently. We'll see if they follow that through with their own player count, as obviously they still have the 2 on rappel that are going to be trying to harass the interior of the site just from these positions as well. There's the team more than likely looking to take control of the square, or lobbies was being droned out a few seconds prior here. Twitch drone also going to try to work its way in, see if any big ticket items get taken out. I like a fact here. Certainly going to try and go for them. I'm going to try and locate these as well. Just trying to give the pings out right now as well towards the evil eye. Better suited being taken out by a nade there. Don't believe that one banks the way they needed it to. I also think it goes way too short on it, but the second Twitch drone chucked in there as well, going to be lost by Lycofax. That utility phase, for him at least, is over. Phone call is going to come in though, as now it's time to frag. Smokes follow it through as well. The swings coming forward. Lycofax the first to get inside. 2 others are going to follow that through once he gives an all clear call, but he has not been able to find any entries to support this push yet. Sweater, however, will be knocked out by Shaiko, and finally Lycofax strikes true, opening the gateway for the rest of BDS to swing in here and take full control of the site. May not even really need to go for the plant here when everything is said and done. We're already down to just Foxe and Dream. Scratch that, just Dream, and he only has J control here. Starts to fight back though with the first refrag. 4 more to go. It'll be a 1v5 ace from Dream if he can pull this off. BDS still does not have the plant down for themselves as well.
Well, what a way to etch your name into Rainbow Six history if you can get it done, but it'll be EFAC to take him down. And not only that, EFAC with the F2, baby, it's back. We got somebody using it still on Twitch after the nerf. No grip, no problem for EFAC. He'll get 2 kills inside of that round with the weapon and propel them to a 5-3 scoreline here. Oxygen not able to get a defensive round just yet. Well, actually, rather, able to get 1, but nothing really considerable past that. BDS mostly in the driver's seat for this one.
Attackers need to locate.
BDS looking to drive this one all the way up to 7 rounds here. Just 2 more to go after Oxygen sneaks away their victory. That a very clutch Nitro Cell down in the basement play from round number 1 here. They'll potentially get at least 1 more opportunity to return to that on the next round after this one. But for this one, they will still have to play into an unfamiliar site as far as their defense is concerned. We'll be back over here in open area. We're going to get a lot of the same play we had from BDS when they chose to go into this site as well. The castle, for instance, being brought in here for Sweater. This all is still being used, as you would kind of expect with most compositions at this point in the meta, by Vertical there to add that roaming prowess. Aside from that here, it's more the usual assortment. Nothing poking out too heavily. The IQ is going to come in from BDS, though, to try and get some counter onto that Soulless roam.
Well, let's see what Vertical can do with said Soulless roam. More than likely a lot of damage to the drone game just first off, but past that, could have a solid read on some of these other players like Alems, as these two have a staring contest through a wall.
I was about to say, they're just looking at each other right now, aren't they?
Yeah, right? Not very many people that can straight up stare at a wall and be like, no, I'm looking at another person.
I mean, that's kind of, it's kind of interesting how bringing Soulless into the meta has, to an extent, reintroduced IQ back just as a hard counter to her. When previously IQ was like pretty much dead because of the fact that we had the context pinging introduced like 2 years ago now. So
yes, yeah. Ever since Z-Ping came in on drones, she's been kind of a moot point. There's really no reason to bring IQ, but she's really, really good at you know, playing around Soulless. You know where Soulless is whenever she turns on her her scanner. Same thing with, you know, kind of a pulse situation. So makes it pretty easy. Plus, she has a really, really fun gun. Don't know if you guys have ever used the 5.52 Commando before, but if you're not living under a rock, then you know it's a very, very solid weapon with a great damage model. Oh my God! Express delivery right to Foxe's face.
If I was Fox, I'd just take my hands off the keyboard right there. It's like, well, I'm dying. Like, what are you going to do to that one? Perfectly shot by BDS. Ace in the hole indeed as they shut down Fox. Nothing he can do to respond to that one. And BDS will take the opening kill yet again here. All but follow through though. We are halfway through the round and able to just now claim that first kill. So a bit more work needing to be done here by BDS. But they are, as far as I'm concerned, well on schedule here with all these top downs being opened up. And Oxygen's positioning being forced into a corner very, very quickly.
Yeah, pretty problematic for Oxygen right now. You can see them trying to work their way towards the southern side of the building, trying to play the hallway downstairs and play these angles in towards, the bomb site, as well as just the area where BDS are looking to abuse and try and wrap themselves around this space. BDS, as of right now, trying to build upon what earlier success they found on this top floor in that pick of Foxay. Everyday has been able to break up some flooring here, and Afax began moving his way down white stairs, but Oxygen not willing to show the goods just yet. Really know what they can get done here. His Dream's starting to get bared down upon by Shaiko. Be an easy kill for him. Newers will get one as he'll drop downstairs. He has to reposition now up main. Renshiro will actually take out a Limbs, and this is going to be the equalizer here. Efac awaiting to see if he can potentially work around these two players. He'll down Newers. Pre-fires the other one. It's all left up to Vertical, and he can't even stop the plant. 3 active players up against Vert, one of the best in North America that we've ever produced, but he can't get it done. Shaiko shuts him down. BDS looking to take bank.
BDS tilting this game right around for themselves here after initially struggling just to get things started off here as Oxygen went 2-0 at the beginning of this one. Ever since then, they've only claimed a single round, and BDS has gotten the other 6 for themselves in the process here. So a big swing for them, one that they are certainly going to be very, very happy that they've been able to achieve so far here. Like I said at the beginning of the last round, Oxygen still has, for this round, a bit of a saving grace that they can now return to the basement. So far, the only successful site they've played out in this half. So hoping to repeat that success and at least get them that 1 extra round out of the 3 that they now need to trigger overtime here and prevent BDS from having the 1-0 advantage entering map 2 and as well entering their own map pick.
Well, the French monsters have seemingly come to play today, especially for Shaiko and Efac's case. Both of them lighting the world on fire right now. 12 kills for Efac, 11 for Shaiko. Oxygen, a couple of players stepping up. Foxay having a good game, but can't really say so much about the others. Newer's negative right now. So many interactions that he's went for. Just hasn't really worked out in the same way that we're used to. BDS looking much stronger today than they were yesterday. Foxay gonna look to see if he can find himself any drones in the dying moments of this prep phase for what could be our last map here. And speaking of maps, remember, this is BDS map's choice. Doesn't mean the worst thing in the world for Oxygen here if they end up losing this map. Is BDS definitely prepared, it seems, to play things out here on Bank.
So as the time continues to tick down inside of the actual round itself here, we've got BDS exploring their options and more importantly looking to quickly take down some utility pieces that are going to be out in the open from Oxygen, such as the support sitting over there on top blue. I think he got 2 out of 3 of those ADSs right there. May have snuck the 3rd one in before going down, but I believe he got shot out before he could achieve that one. Either way, the hold at top blue is much weaker than it was a few seconds ago, and that's what's important here as BDS tries their best to press their way through it. They're gonna get tripped up here on the last occasion.
Cool, calm, and collected across the board right now by both of these teams. Nobody willing to take that extra inch. So much trouble right around the corner for either one of these squads. They just don't know it. Angle being adapted here from Efac, making mincemeat of that wall. Nothing really on the other end, though. It's going to force all of Oxygen back downstairs. They will immediately escape hatch straight out of stock. As well as open area. Just do not want to be around this space. They'll relinquish it over to BDS, but this is also going to provide them quite a few angles here. And to be completely honest with you, this really does match the time that you'd regularly see a team going for this kind of a play. Around that halfway point is where you want to start getting hatches open and starting to make plays around this base floor. So Oxygen just kind of guaranteeing that that process would happen.
The drone is out here now.
Yeah, don't worry, Newers. I think we're all sweating there for just a split second. It's like, what the? Oh, it disappeared. Okay, thank God. Whew.
Nade kill will be found by the BDS roster after a considerable delay of their descent here. Lands directly up on top of Sweater and knocks him out for the count here. Smokes are going to flood into, starts to block off the POV of some of these players. Foxay and thrown off there a bit as you see something working its way down through the hatch. He's able to follow it through as much as he would have liked there. The drone sneaks its way into a deeper point in the site, but still no actual BDS members committed to this drop as of yet here. They do not feel they've cleared it out well enough, and they've wasted a smoke now in the process of this one. Should, I believe, have at least one more in the arsenal, but I'll correct myself. No, like a fact that the only smokes built up, and both of them are now gone as he just threw it. So that one's gone down onto the ground here, and BDS gonna have to try and make this play work. As we've reached that pivotal 20-second marker here, where is the execute? Are they going to go for it here at all as they try to swing themselves in finally through security?
They got to do something. BDS is going to try and put the case down here, and it's all gunfights across the board. Newers to take down. Shaiko trades back and forth. It's up to Vertical once again in the 1 versus 3. Down to the Jaeger. Might actually be able to get New up here if he can translate this over to Gold Vault, and he can. But now Newers is on such low HP, they don't have a Thunderbird or anything to help, but Newers, or rather Vertical, will decapitate Alems. Newers moving up inside of Red Hallway. The case position, so very difficult to work around, one of the hardest in all of Siege when it comes to this post plant. Look at this angle that Renshiro can adopt, all with that 1.5, that slight magnification, making those pixels so easy to play around. It'll be a fairly straightforward round there from BDS, and a heck of a bank out of them. It'll take map 2 to see if our opponent's Oxygen can really get anything done.
Fairly straightforward round, and honestly a fairly straightforward game from BDS there as they lock out Oxygen after the initial run from them for 2 rounds straight. After that, we only saw Oxygen win 1 singular round, their very first one, their very first play in basement on defense in the second half. So they've got to go back to the drawing board, focus up for some serious work. The good news is they do have their own map pick coming up after this one, so there should be some chances for a rebound, and potentially for map 3 as well. Still did good in terms of keeping their fight going in the middle of the round-to-round basis there, keeping themselves up to snuff on the gunfights and things like that, but still ended up falling behind when it came to the clutch, and that's the big problem that they're gonna have to work on now going into map number 2. Stick with us, folks. We've got map number 2 coming up right after this.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a 2-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position, that is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
Inside the building, but I was going to say it's really smart from Lost One. They've adapted, they've stepped away from trying to challenge the break room, but now put themselves down to a man disadvantage, and Cyclops have pulled another one back up to 5 and 4, even with what I thought looked like a pretty smart adaptation coming out of Lost One.
I think we knew this wasn't necessarily going to be a runaway. Cyclops have always got something to say about a game that's not going in their favour, and they certainly have in their say over the last couple of rounds. Heading into round 10, we've seen Cyclops take the last 2 and bring themselves back within one. They're in touching distance of Lost One, who are going to move on. Interestingly, they're not going to go to Initiation and Office. They're going to actually head downstairs, not back to Armory and Throne. It's going to be Lab and Storage for Lost One, which is not an often picked side. I think we have seen it so far at SR23, maybe once. But yeah, it's not too common.
No, it isn't really. I think a couple of teams, interestingly on day one actually yesterday, we'd seen every map and every site played according to the stats that Fresh have been collecting. Literally everything had been played. And I know we've seen Lab and Storage a couple of times across the maps that we'd either cast or watch on Theme Park. I'm just always concerned about this one in terms of the site itself becomes a little bit claustrophobic for the attackers especially. Trying to filter in through that single window, having to take control of most of Arcade, which means getting control of top floor, making sure Cafe's secure. There's just a lot you have to think about to even worry about pushing in towards this site, but it's also quite weird to defend at the same time. Here, what I'm concerned about for Lost One is they're stretching themselves really thin. They've got players playing up on the vertical, that's some downstairs as well inside of Armory and Throne with the reinforcements that have just gone up. So there's a lot to hold on to, and I'm just not convinced they'll be able to keep Cyclops at bay. Better yet, even keep Cyclops at bay from just charging straight in towards the site as well.
We've just got only one of Lost One on site at the minute.
That's what I mean, yeah.
This, as you say, there's an opportunity for Cyclops there. Could be dangerous. I was expecting maybe as you were finishing speaking that a few were going to head back in there, but no, it's just going to be Rise all alone for the time being, and they just need to be aware of that. The Arcade Stairs is a good position, to be fair. We've got Dash there on the Goyo, so that's going to be at least able to quickly support. He's sort of in that link position of keeping a safe space for the roamers to be able to head back through to site. But yeah, a lot of commitment to the top floor at the minute for Lost One.
Which I don't overly hate. Like, they're controlling the entirety of the map. They've even got Dragon held down. Again, remembering that the site is Lab and Storage. It's the exact opposite end of the map. Now, Arcol is looking to do a little bit of a challenge on this side of the map, but there's two he's playing against and gets the shot up through the floor onto Lobbin, who was looking to get cheeky. I know he was quite confident coming into SI, but I've said it a couple of times. So far, humbled by the Japanese side.
You get to finding Maya as well. 5 versus 3 now, and Cyclops really getting some wind in their sails. I'm going to have to start thinking about getting back to site here, a Lost One, because they are still light-handed down there, so it's not ideal. There's still 2 on the top floor, only Rise downstairs, so could certainly be a problem, especially as Dots falls as well. It's all up to Dash. He was on the Arcade Stairs, so he can get back in there, but even Rise has dipped away now. It looks like Cyclops are able to start moving in. Rise is thinking about going out of the window here, but it's going to be too late. The diffuser's going down. He knows there's somebody coming towards Barrels, manages to find him, but Arcully onto Dash, leaves Rise with it all to do. Beautiful headshot with the SMG-11, but now he sees his own side utility working against him.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ourselves ready for map number 2 here between Team BDS and Oxygen. Getting well into their series here now, as we just saw BDS get a fairly quick shutdown over on Bank against the Oxygen roster. Oxygen got off to a good start with 2 rounds in their pocket, but failed to replicate that success throughout pretty much the rest of the map, only finding 1 single round afterwards to BDS's 7 outright. So we'll be moving over to their map pick here, Oxygen that is, on Border now. We'll have to see if it'll be enough of a switch up for them to bring themselves back from the brink here, be able to close out some of those more tense late round situations, and still end up on top of the heap here to push us to a map 3.
Here's some highlights from across Bank while we warm you guys up for Border. That's going to be a pretty interesting one, just with how Border plays out. Very small map, very hotly contested, condensed. It's just a hell in a handbasket, really. That's just how Border plays out. And that's exactly what Oxygen is looking to imbue into their gameplay coming up into this next map. But it seems like BDS is a completely different beast here today than what they looked like yesterday, which was Wounded. They didn't really play together as a team. A lot of Shaiko with his individual prowess able to try and catapult them to victory, but obviously to no avail as they lost to Cyclops. But here today, they're looking to right those wrongs, and it happens to be up against Oxygen.
Well, here's the stats from map number 1 for those who wanted to see them. Shaiko, of course, leading the charge still for the team, but as Stokes was mentioning, the rest of the squad really waking up and finding their contributions throughout the course of that map as well. Meanwhile, over on the Oxygen side of things, fairly even flare across the board there for that team. A pretty even progression going down the list. You are still on top of the heap, of course, as it would seem, but Foxy, of course, having the best KD out of it at 8 and 6 there. Overall, though, just need to see an improvement in that regard. The clutch capability, as we're still seeing far too many of the members of Oxygen get clipped off towards towards the tail end of the round is their biggest issue here, not necessarily anyone's individual performance, in my opinion.
I think the key factor here is going to be on the entries. Look at the very bottom of Oxygen.
Yeah, Sweater.
Yeah, Sweater. 1 and 5 on entry. Feeling himself quite a lot after he got that kill into Shaiko with the opener 1-tap. And then just fell off a cliff. Just was not performing up to snuff. He's supposed to be matching the energy of Newers, you know, getting there, getting some kills. And you saw him position like that very often on Bank, where he would be, you know, counter the counter swing. You know, you'd see Newers swing a door from one side of the site, and then, you know, you'd see Sweater try to work his way in and pick up another frag on the other one, on the other end while they are distracted. But yeah, it just really wasn't working out very well for him. So hopefully Border will be the big map change for him that could bode with some positive progress and hopefully show us a better form of Oxygen. Not reformed, just back to their basics, what we're used to seeing out of them. So they try to take it here to BDS and elongate this game into the full breadth of maps in this best of 3.
Nook out and about here as the first ban, so that one will be removed away from that one. No surprises though, just considering once again the usefulness of Nook, not only on this map, but across other ones like it. Osa is going to be actually an interesting one, but again, I think that's a little bit kind of target-oriented towards Oxygen a bit there, just because of the fact that... Oh, go ahead.
No, I think she's just really good on Border.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't disagree,
Yeah. It's mostly just for the balconies and that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't think the thing is, I don't think every team subscribes to her.
They don't, but that's more the point that I was going to lean into as well. Oxygen is one of the teams that subscribe to her. We have a couple that kind of mix her in every once in a while. Another map that we used to see her on all the time was Coastline. Obviously, we don't have access to that in the play pool anymore, but anything that has something like that, same with Skyscraper, those outside balconies where she can kind of, you know, premeditatively set up those shields and then play with either a breach open or a window open or what have you. She's always fantastic in those positions, and Oxygen is very good about playing around those. So I think this is a really good spot ban here from BDS because they know that more than likely Oxygen want to use that when it comes to that side. So very well done from them. But now we are through. Solus banned out as to be expected. You got to remove one of those extremely powerful defenders. It's either her or Azami that we usually see selected along the likes of like Valkyrie or Mira. I think we've only had one game so far where actually Solus as well as Azami were banned out at the exact same time.
All right, well, let's see here now how exactly this round, or well, how this game will evolve for both Oxygen and BDS. They're now looking for the shutdown 2-0 against them here. We really rocket them forward on the inside of the group. For Oxygen, nope, not going to see any huge surprises for their first hold, which is not even going to be upstairs in the lockers as well. They're actually going to go down to the vents for the first one here, but we'll still see that extension into lockers in the oriented areas here to keep their own extension alive, and of course to waste the time for BDS, prevent them from just completely collapsing the defensive setup downstairs by having access to all those top-down angles. BDS has the correct read for this one, it seems, so not really a whole lot of change-ups needed, just moves the Twitch over to the Buck instead here, just to have that little bit of extra soft breach for those top-down angles.
So much soft breach here for BDS, and just said, really going to be useful for trying to break up some of these angles, whether it be flooring or some walls, to be able to create some new angles for them. So we'll try and hound down on Oxygen's location, being this top floor. Obviously, the site is going to be downstairs, but the majority of the defense will be up as they're looking to try and slow down BDS's assault. Lems is going to at least get the initial door open here. So working his way over towards the other quarter of the map. Shaiko's going to start things off on top east. BDS not going to hop to until they are for sure about the clearance available to them inside of the building.
Shaiko continues to rotate his way down. Already reached a very forward point in the map here, but he's taken a few steps further before he ends up in enemy territory. That's a duel out against some of the best from Oxygen there. Overall, he is going to find a relatively open Teller's area. It's all upstairs where we have the extensions deployed for the Oxygen roster. Foxy just saw there popping off a Nitro against the Archives push on the outside balcony, if we are going to see that come to full fruition from BDS. Lems has moved himself into break in the meanwhile here and has access to the 90 hallway as a result of that one. At least one member of Oxygen at least trying to peek into that one. Remember, of course, this is the off-site fight still happening here. But Newers ready for the challenge. Lycofact tries to push from the Archive side first instead. Takes him down and claims the first kill of the round.
All right, Renshiro, where are you at? EMP's out. I believe that's going to be a Selma going down now, so they'll have some angles to work around when it comes to the Archive side. Looks like potentially Shaiko trying to hop over and find some more space inside of security. It's going to be Renshiro to strike next as he'll take down Sweater. Vertical will suffer a very similar fate. Shaiko will be able to take him down as well. BDS propelling themselves forward and with good cadence as well. Not overzealous, not too slow, just right. As they will continue to get kills. Dream going to fall as well as simply Oxygen picked to pieces every single time that they step up and try and find themselves a kill that could get them back into the game. BDS just pushes them one step further into the grave.
BDS having corrected course quickly. It's all onto the slight movements for these remaining Oxygen members, and even there, we're not going to find any success. It's surgical once more from BDS. Now they hunt down these members of Oxygen one by one, especially in the dying moments of the round when, obviously, again, the round's already pretty much decided at this point, but even then, they refuse to give up that form and shut down those OXG players, oftentimes the OXG players being none the wiser to where they were shot from.
Yeah, that was practically perfect cadence and strategical play from the entirety of the team right there. Staying coordinated, making sure they're clearing out portions of this map as a squad and keeping the info flowing. That's all it took to take down Oxygen there. Newer's the only one that was able to get a kill, and it was a pretty slick one as well, you know, downrange with the AUG, but that's all she wrote for Oxygen on that round. They're going to need a heck of a lot more when it comes to their defensive backbone.
Setup phase as well begun here for Oxygen. We'll take a peek here as once again not going to that traditional second floor site. Instead going to be rotating over towards Tellers for their second attempt instead here. We'll of course see the second floor action still be in play as usual for the same reasons that we had back on round number 1 here. A few change ups to the operator lineup, in fact quite drastic ones at that one. The Azami brought in for Vertical. We're still going to have some of that utility mitigation as you kind of need to bring it for the most part. Newer's as well though, re-adding the Frost to the equation. It's been NA's savior it seems in quite a few of these games. We'll see if it is the case once again here in this one.
It's home field advantage, man. We're in Canada. She's a Canadian operator. It works out. Those Frostmaz, though, as you said, seem to be the MVP of the tournament so far. And as we've talked about before, just such a juxtaposition when it comes to those things. You either choose between dying to a Frostmat or dying to the person babying the Frostmat.
It's basically like if we were tracking Frostmat stats, I think it has a positive KD right now.
Yeah, excuse me. Laxton jokingly tweeted yesterday, like, I think this thing has like a 24.
I honestly don't think that's an exaggeration. I'm pretty sure if we tracked...
yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty sure if we tracked Frost Traps destroyed versus Frost Traps triggered, I think there's more triggered than destroyed right now.
Probably. It'd be pretty close, because honestly, you see them just avoided entirely.
At least from the games we've casted.
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
if we're just counting those.
We kind of have a weird lens, right? Because we're not just sitting at home getting to watch every single game, which has been honestly one of the most interesting things, because it's really weird to walk back into the green room and be like, wait, BDS actually lost to Cyclops? like, wait, you're not lying to me?
True.
Bring out Ashton Kutcher. Am I unpunked right now? Like, what is this? That's surely what Oxygen might be asking here in a couple of moments. As EFAC has slipped through the cracks. I don't think that anybody knows that he's home either. He's right on the tailcoats of the Frost. Newer's now down for the count 1, trying to bear down in his location as well. Vertical will fire back. Oxygen, they're staying in this one. Want to try and get around on the board here early on. Shaiko, crucial shots missed. Vert coming back for Oxygen when he's needed most.
Vert, the sneaky snake, getting out of the way of those shots there and getting himself a position to still win it on the refrag. Nicely done for him. Brings it back down into a 4 versus 3. Now BDS, an unfamiliar position for them as they fight back this round on deficit. 3v4 here. Sweater trying to line himself up for the potential ceiling kill if they can bring it down to a 4v2, but have not been able to find it just as of yet. Renshiro will be deploying a drone back in here. Things have calmed down a little bit as BDS realize they've overplayed their hand. They need to go back into an intel gathering phase to get better information on how they need to approach the remaining 48 seconds of this round, seeing as they still have one additional target that they need to trade out here.
A little scary here. Not very much time remaining, but in siege time, you can really just take all of this. As long as that case is going down by the 0 marker, it's all that really matters. But the big issue is that Oxygen have so much control over the top of the site. A lot of verticality going to play into this. Not very many safe locations in order to put this case down. Renshiro's going to try and creep his way in on this top floor. Sweater's going to be able to take down Brede. Renshiro's got to do this right now. Able to, oh no, vertical. I thought he had it, but he didn't. Vertical shuts him down immediately, and that's more than likely the round. I mean, Alems, what can you do? There's no way these last two are gonna give you a gunfight with that little time, my friend. Oxygen are gonna get the round after BDS. Just a little over the top in that round and ends up punishing them.
At the same time, nicely done from Oxygen here, finally holding their ground, not giving up that crucial territory on the extension here, and forcing the players from BDS to rethink their strategy for really one of the first times here, instead of the other way around, where it's Oxygen trying to work with whatever they have left to try and scrape out a win. Really, they take command here and put themselves into a much better position, especially when you consider the play from Vert inside of that round as well. He was putting his best foot forward more than once there to be able to pick up some pivotal kills and stop a few sneaky players from BDS who managed to get that earlier access to Archive's office. Put them down before they could become a bit of a problem. So into round number 3 here, where Oxygen rotate back to their original site choice. We're going to see a bit of a different flair for this one. We've got double electrified operators here as well. Both the Bandit and the Cade have been brought onto the roster, so very curious to see how much this is going to be utilized.
Well, going to be holding things down across the base floor, making sure to reinforce detention, not giving BDS nearly as much access, at least initially, to the base floor. Also looks like they want to do some reconstructive surgery on the top floor here as well. A lot of bandit batteries going down on these single panels to make it pretty difficult for BDS to try and work across the floor, as, well, they really only have a limited amount of EMPs. They only have the 2 on Renshiro, as well as 3 Selmas from Bride, so they're going to have to make good on this promise. If they end up selecting something incorrectly, then might be the downfall of round 3.
Things will move quietly as usual, though, for the first minute or so here, as BDS still wants to take their time, analyze the scenario. It may not necessarily be true for the players on OXG, though. Sweater tries to get hot right at the start of this round and attempts to line up an opening shot versus, I believe it was Alems. However, no connection made onto him. Instead, just a few bullets going back into Sweater, and he has to give up that position and fall back into the site yet again.
Well, EFAX found his way into Passport. Silencer on that thing as well. Some players really starting to favor this thing now, as there's no more damage drop-off on it. Good damage numbers and no bullet tracers in Siege means quite a bit. It's that longer barrel that you have to deal with. Obviously, extended barrel also a pretty hot commodity right now, but still quite a few people leaning back on the, tried and true of the flash hider, compensator, stuff like that. Haven't seen that many muzzle breaks around, but everything's still getting its fair share, although the suppressor and extended barrel definitely getting a lot more play than it used to. BDS keeping things kosher as of right now. Really don't want to get too ahead of themselves. They saw how that worked out for them last time, as Oxygen was quickly able to work their game plan from their position inside of open area.
See the push forward here now as Sweater claims the first kill finally after some delay behind it. Over here on East Main, catches an Alems roaming forward. Dream as well is going to be able to take down Like Effect. He fails to notice him in the depths of the showers there. Renshiro finally trades at least one back against Sweater, who had gotten just a tad too adventurous. Vert also going to be found though, but Foxe saves the player advantage by keeping that trade chain going one step further, leaving it all on just Shaiko and Bride now. Bride will just be directly challenged by Foxe too, and yours also will take the fight directly to the now last player standing over on the BDS roster. Excellently played there by Oxygen. As soon as they knew they had control, they refused to take their foot off the gas pedal.
Once again, Oxygen able to take it to BDS in the frag department. Team BDS getting into the map, but not ready for the long gunfight. Some of those longer distance ones really punishing them across that top floor. And Oxygen able to take out a handful of members, all because of that. And BDS obviously not looking the greatest due to that factor. Shaiko, the lone soul, trying to get something done with that round, but nothing that could potentially assist them with what had happened prior. So now for Oxygen, going to change some things up for their top floor defense here. We're going to have some frost mats as well as Goyo. Warden coming into the work as well. Into the mix, though, for Alems was the Blackbeard initially, and he had that lock there for some time, but still trying to transition this into something else. Looks like he wants to try and rest on the Ash for now.
10 seconds remaining.
Final 10 seconds now, just to lock a few things in. I'm not going to see any major earth-shattering changes over on the BDS side of things. Still bringing a very, very similar flare we've already had from them on the previous rounds played out here. A little bit different from Oxygen, though, as they bring A few different delay operators into the fold for this one. Fox A specifically going over to those Goyo canisters to add them into the equation, and obviously also we're finally seeing that play up on the second floor here. So going to need that to try and delay the clearance of not only CCTV, but the earlier portions of areas like lockers and archive, where he's more than likely thrown those canisters down. As you can see, there's one in break room right there to delay the take on CCTV.
All of Oxygen right on the other side of this wall from BDS. Fox 8 shots out onto the balcony, but it's not going to connect with Shaiko. It's him as well as Alems circling back and forth out here, seeing if they can try and find any of these Oxygen members. Want to try and tussle. They've all tried to eventually work their way back over towards the site, except for a lone soul. Don't exactly know who stuck around inside of break, but we also have EFAC working his way in down low. Could have some frag grenades delivered to the feet of these members. Look like the hatch is potentially open down low. Didn't exactly get a great look at that, but could have Oxygen drop off inside of the office space if so needed.
Some spam in coming out from Newers, and he strikes true now, getting the first kill for Oxygen yet again, eliminating Alems. Still hard committed to the position though, so may not be out of the hot seat just yet here, as BDS will certainly want revenge for that early kill, but they've got to be careful too not to give away a second or potentially even a third player to the aggression of themselves. Like Fact though is successful in finding the trade, but it does not happen in the same neighborhood where they lost their first teammate. Instead it's going to be Alems found out here, or rather Vertical, excuse me, found out and eliminated first from the Oxygen roster.
Shaiko, also the rest of BDS, slowing things up. See if they can potentially get this big gunfight up against Oxygen. They're giving it to him. Trying to get that to work out in from Bookshelf, but can't find too much just yet. Norris has the angle, playing for the top east play. Doing his damnedest to try and continue to combat back from that half wall inside of office, but simply cannot get it done. BDS, they found the location, they found the angles, and now they found the kills. Oxygen have to try and fight fire with fire, but they can't get it done. It's all up to Fox A, and Renshiro is awaiting his arrival on the other side of the breach. BDS will tie things up.
Done by BDS, is able to collapse upon the overall centralized positions of Oxygen as they were all trying to support off of each other there. Is able to knock them down and then chain them forward from that point on. So XG tried to support, tried to trade off of each other, and unfortunately just ended up giving up more and more kills over to BDS as they tried to commit deeper into that situation. Bathroom Tellers is up next here as Oxygen continue to rotate around here and look for some success on the final 2 rounds of their defensive half.
Yeah, Bathroom Tellers, and we're going to have Frost in once again. Be sure to be looking for that on the windows. A lot of other active parts coming in here for Oxygen, as that top floor is going to mean a lot as well. The big thing is here, John, no castle barricades, something we usually see when it comes to this site.
Very, very true. It's going to be reinforced with another form of utility, most notably Newers, of course. Adding the frost mats into the equation, is basically what they have swapped this out for under these circumstances. The mobility coming out from Sweater too, also going to be much heavily noted here. Oxygen's capability to potentially get the shutdown out against BDS, and more importantly, trying to hold on to the lead as we enter the closing moments of the defensive half for them here. BDS, once more, same thing as we've seen in quite a few rounds prior. They are bringing the Dokumi back into it just to play off the intel a little bit more heavily, get those phone calls out if they can catch the general location of a member from Oxygen. But here we go, the round begins now, and BDS out and about looking to try and make their mark yet again.
Really interested to see what these stats are going to look like here.
Okay.
And, ooh, I don't even get to look at the defensive stats yet, do I? Because EFAC has other things in mind, and it happens to be killing
I don't even know if Sweater was trying to peek that window. I think he was trying to like knock it down potentially and just got really unlucky with the timing, or his opponent just spotted it there. But Sweater, once again, fortunately ending up on the wrong side of the situation here as he's knocked out first. First of many we've seen him go down, unfortunately.
It just seems like he's a bullet magnet for this one right here. Constantly the butt end of the joke when it comes to Oxygen. He's picked off time and time again here inside of this series. Hoping to see him try and fix this up is probably the same for Oxygen. Having that leadoff pick go the way of BDS all the time for the most part here when it comes up against Sweater has definitely not been boding well for them.
Gotta respect the veracity to keep going. I don't know if that's the right word, but
Veracity?
Tenacity, I think.
Tenacity is a word, yes.
Tenacity to keep going for those types of peaks.
Say veracity? Was that what it was?
That is a word, like veracity. With a
veracity.
I think that's a word, but I don't know what it means. So
we need a dictionary out
I think
here.
I meant to say tenacity. But yeah, the fact that he keeps committing those is impressive in and of itself, but at a certain point he does have to start weighing it a little bit more carefully here, just with the way the stats have been playing out so far for him. Moving on from that, though, so we got a lot more action going on. Alems finding the down against Newers, so far making it a 2-0 round here for BDS. Newers thankfully is retrieved, so I'll correct myself in the fact that we still only have Sweater down and out. Thought BDS would have been able to get the finisher off on a Newers, but is not the case, and in fact, he gets revenge against the very player that I believe down to a few seconds prior. Like in fact, now out of the game entirely. Beautifully played there by Newers to get that.
Takes a punch, but delivers a knockout. That's exactly what you want out of your players. Newers like, no, come back. I want it. Please. Let me show you something. There it is, right there. A little smack down for him. He takes out EFAC. I mean, everything so very quiet since that. Wow, Vert. My God, did Renshiro just slap the brakes off him. Disgusting work with the SMG-12 there. Not an easy gun to land your shots either, but quickly dispatching Vertical. Now this has opened up the entire top floor for BDS, and all of a sudden this is looking quite worrisome for Oxygen.
Oxygen once again has had some impressive early round play here throughout the course of this map, but far too often it has fallen to pieces in the mid and late round. Foxay, though, with a nice scoop, prevents the plant from going down. Newers, however, still far too low on his HP after the shenanigans he got himself into earlier on in the round, and as a result, BDS can shut him down nice and quickly. Yet again, like I said before here, even though BDS looks like they have the control, they refuse to give up their composed form, and it just makes it so difficult for OXG to try and bring back those outnumbered scenarios.
Yes, indeed. And now we are quickly approaching the last round of this half here as BDS takes that round and is able to make the scoreline 3-2. Hopefully Oxygen can shore this up, making it a 3-3, but that would also kind of be beating the odds of the map as well. Defensive overall win rate for Border right now is 47%, with the hotly contested site being Archives Armoring with a 57% win rate. Everything else below 50, minus actually Supply and Customs, which I don't actually believe we've seen in between these two just yet. I don't think Oxygen played it their entire side. So see if we get that from BDS, but we haven't had it in any of our Borders just yet.
So here is Oxygen once again. Looks to try and secure things for themselves. One final round to tie us back up. The pulse is coming out on the Foxay as well, which I don't believe we have seen from him just as of yet. Try and get a little bit of a better read as to where those opening attacks are going to come from. I think this is a good adjustment when you consider the swarming nature with which BDS has approached some of these opening kills, and the fact that Oxygen may be missing some of those players. And that could be explaining why they are struggling to keep up, even though they may be able to get themselves that opening kill or two. It's the trades where they tend to fall apart. So hopefully the extra intel drip from Foxay is going to help with that.
Well, no sense of slow when it comes to Newers. Occupying radio window with the entirety of his face there. Back and forth he swings on that angle. Nobody home, though, for BDS. They don't want to try and contest that just yet. Could have potentially herd him out. We'll see if they can get anything going here as they're going to start this ensemble in from the east. Have Shaiko working his way around out towards the actual balcony for Square. This is a fantastic position to try and hold the cross in for the office, and it works out well for him. Newers knows somebody more than likely there, but just not good enough on the reaction time to try and beat out Shaiko in that moment. Be tied up here. It's BDS looking to try and take this round. Frag grenades down for Shaiko, and a quick kill onto Sweater. Knows another one's in the area based off the logic bomb as well. And this is going swimmingly for them.
Vert still waiting for play potential to open up. Might get it in a moment here from Shaiko, but Shaiko is similarly scared at the moment here. 1-to-1 exchange goes out all between these office positions as the Lems finds Dream, but Vertical also is able to take down Bride. Numbers still advantageous over towards BDS, but Vertical has now changed that. 2 kills back-to-back, 1 down below, 1 from Shaiko across the hall. Now it's all on Renshiro for the 1v2 clutch. He's got Vertical low, but Foxy already has an idea as to where Renshiro is playing from. They can direct themselves around him appropriately.
And that's going to be the biggest issue for him, is that Foxy not only at max HP, but also on pulse. They know everything that's going on. Oh, I almost had a flashback there for just a moment. And Shiro can go for the plant now. See if they have good ears. Doesn't seem like anybody even knows that he's planning.
Down,
I think he is. Toxe is going to go up top. Yeah, but that also might end up working out for him, honestly. If Renshiro's able to get the duel that he wants, or hear the audio upstairs, or get this reposition, all of these could be really, really beneficial for him. And it's going to be the down there from Vertical. Vertical winning out with very, very low HP as well, so quite surprising that he wins that on the swing. But, I mean, what else do you expect out of him? He is playing lights out right now for OXG. 8-4, a 2.0 KD for Vertical. And it seems like he's all business yet again here. We usually expect this out of Vert when it comes to his play, but it looks like he's definitely getting it done up against BDS.
Dead heat still at halftime as both teams pick up 3 rounds here. It's going to be an initial armory site for BDS as they jump on the defensive half now. And we'll take a look at their operator lineup and the rest of their composition here in just a moment as they pick out those last few players. A lot of the same thing from Oxygen though that we were getting from BDS. Don't expect too much of a change up more than likely in their lineup. It is a pretty decided style of play here on this map. And for BDS, of course, now we get to see their very utility-heavy defensive setup that they're going to be going for on this first upstairs hold.
Yeah, they got everything you could potentially want for this kind of a setup here, all the way down to the Mozzie Pest to try and deflect some drones away from the site. Although for Oxygen, they've got a couple of different tools working their way in for the offensive side. Happens to just be Vertical here with the air jabs on Nomad. I'll be interested to see what weapon he's bringing along for the right here as well. We saw Citizen favoring that AK. Obviously, quite a few people favoring the ARX as per usual. So just to see what his personal opinion is on this. It's going to be the ARX for this go-around.
We continue to see here now as Oxygen deploy out further and further into the map. They'll start to take up those positions on South Balcony and eventually work themselves over towards West Main. We can see them begin the workings of the site entry, assuming that is the path they are going to take, of course. There's a few tricky elements here that BDS has set up to get in the way of that, so they have to try and take things a different way. If that proves itself too hard to work against, such as this bulletproof, giving out the intel about what may be approaching West Main pretty much immediately as it rounds the corner. And this isn't even considering, of course, the hold that is going to be maintained on the inside of CCTV Security 2, currently being played up by Shaiko on BDS.
Well, Foxy able to land a nice punch here. Alems will go down, and they'll open up the gates for their very first offensive round. Very well placed as well, as it's over there inside of office. Take him down. Shaiko's going to be manning, wow. He's going to be manning security. Pre-fires in through the soft paneling for the main hallway and immediately kills Dream. And I do believe, yes indeed, that is the only hard breach that Oxygen has available to them.
So with that going, it's going to create some serious issues trying to work their way in from really either side. Doesn't matter how they wanted to try and play this one. They would have needed that hard breach to get access. And now they've lost not only that, but an additional player, which has put them at a deficit here. Things are not looking good, to say the least. But half the round still remains, so it may not be done just yet here. Efak, for instance, getting spotted out there, loses a pretty significant sliver of his HP. However, that instance baits Newers in, leads to his death. Yes, Vertical finds a trade, but we're still at the same exact position we were the last time things had calmed down.
And the only advantage Oxygen had in this was the initial kill onto Alems. Past that, BDS has been in the driver's seat ever since Shaiko stepped up. 3 versus 2 in favor of BDS with a minute remaining. Vertical and Sweater both alive. We'd love to see a big round here from Sweater. He's been silent all day when it comes to this matchup against BDS. One of the mainstays now for Oxygen, a player that they had a lot of faith in, and one that we really, really want to see considered in this matchup. His time is now. He's going to move into Fountain, and will it be the death? No, it'll be the kill onto Brede. Vertical's going to go down. Sweater has 2 to deal with. Knows where at least 1 is based off of Vertical's call. Going to come in via Fountain. Does not have Case in his hand. Knows where 1's location is. Takes down Renshiro. But does he know about the one around Metal? Which one was the one that ended up downing Vertical? That's a real question. He's going to be the only one to be able to assist him with these comms. He's got it, and Lickafak, he can't get it done. He adopts the angle at the wrong time. And Sweater finally able to get around under his belt. A successful one, all to his name. Put that one on the mantle at home. Tape it to the fridge for your mom. Fantastic round from him. Making sure to slow down BDS in a round that was surely theirs.
A lot of flack had been directed his way, just by us as well earlier on in this series here due to his inability to find those entry kills, but he makes up for it in huge dividends on this round with the clutch coming out to bring Oxygen back from the brink and more importantly, put them in a leading position here as far as this map is concerned. BDS will not take that one lightly though. They immediately rotate to a new site and are looking for new ways to pick up that lead yet again here so they can still try and find the 2-0 victory in this series. Might not be finding it that easily anymore though, as Oxygen seems to be primed for the fight much more here on this map.
Yes, indeed. The whole scoreboard getting in on this one. Dream not so much, but he's had some hard tasks to try and accomplish for this unit up against BDS. It's been pretty hotly contested from him, so hopefully he just gets a little bit more going in the kill department. We'll have to just see what the remaining cards are, in play for the offensive perspective. BDS, though, they're going to send things down to the base floor as they will be protecting vents and workshop. Obviously, that's also going to consider the top floor as well with the amount of verticality that works into this, so a lot of reinforcements as well as a lot of utility, more than likely going to be placed up top. And you can already see Shaiko on kind of a god spot here. He kind of just wants to be a nuisance constantly in the side of Oxygen, play around the balcony, play here inside of security, come and try and get me. It's basically the whole strategy here from Shaiko.
Sweater ready to make his mark on the inside of CCTV, but the initial position of his opponent will evade him here as he tries to work into it. Taking down that barricade, but at the same time, Sweater wrapping the corner early. Players on the inside thought they would have had greater support from the doorway leading into West Main here. Instead, they're going to find it from deeper towards Break and the Red 90. Nor is lining up a nade before he ends up in a bad position there as well, and is able to find a trade on to Shaiko, but it's at the cost of Sweater yet again here to still keep us even at a 4v4.
Absurd EFAC was able to get there in time to get a refrag and actually make this equal. BDS fighting so hard to try and stay in this. Round 8 could be theirs, could be the game changer here for the defensive side. Haven't been able to get one just yet. It is still early beginnings, though, for both of these teams when it comes to their respective halves. BDS, a lot going on still with this strategy, especially upstairs. Ensure is going to continue to try and man the box door. Got Newers trying to adopt a new side of the map into their play as well as he's working his way in via radio, but now he can't even hop into that window as there's potentially some vertical play coming in down low that could spell demise for him if it's being manned.
So go all quiet here as Oxygen looks to reposition themselves and get ready for the final push they'll commit themselves to the site with. Vertical, only one really positioned inside of the building right now over here by East Main, so they can set up any potential air jabs to fend off the flank maneuvers from BDS later on in the round. But where exactly will Oxygen still try to deploy themselves towards here? That's going to be the big question. Looking like a main door push, trying to work their way into the supply closet to the left of that afterwards. But hold our breath for just one more moment here, as they're still fairly split up here with only 35 seconds to go. Actually need to centralize this play soon, next 10 seconds or so, otherwise they're going to find themselves at a complete lack for time to properly execute into this one. Dream, though, with a nice find, the patience works out as it gets the players from BDS into stalwart positions. No movement there from Renshiro makes it easy for Oxygen to take him down on the top-down angle and give them a player advantage now heading into the final 15 seconds.
Oxygen have got to find a home for this case. Has to dig that lesion mine out of his foot first. They can't get the down. They're trying to find it. Alems is down. They can't stop this plant. Dream sticks it. Foxy and Newer still up. It's all down to Brede. You thought BDS had it done, but clearly not, baby. Oxygen all over the board when it comes to this. Brede rocking a hard place, bodied by Oxygen. They go up by 2 rounds.
Oxygen continue to forge their way back into not only this game, but this series now by pushing them that much closer to the end game point. 2 rounds is all they need here. We're also going to be triggering a BDS timeout as they feel they've lost control of the plot here over these past 2 rounds, just all of a sudden falling to pieces in the late round. That was the problem for Oxygen back in the last half, and now it seems like BDS is struggling in a very similar fashion on the defensive side also.
Yes, indeed. Oxygen really able to kind of put the wool over the eyes of BDS there in the dying moments, right? Especially as they're all hands on deck trying to get rid of the case planner. But not a single bullet can make contact with this guy. Such an unfortunate circumstance there for BDS, but one that will prove to bode extremely well for Oxygen. All of their angles coming to fruition, constantly taking out players from BDS. Once the bleeding start, it was never hemorrhaged.
All right, well, we are already back into the game. Really quick tack pause coming in there from BDS. So let's see what they've been able to talk about and if it's going to make an effective change to this one. Otherwise, they need to get themselves prepped and ready for a 3rd map in this series, as Oxygen is on a tear right now. Clubhouse is going to be that 3rd map if we do need to trigger it over the next few moments here. BDS retrying the same site as well. They feel that the last play was close enough to where they can make immediate corrections upon it and find overall success here to lock this one down and bring them with another round's grasp of the OXG scoreline. Overall, though, BDS has yet to find any success on this defensive side. This will be a tough ask for them to suddenly change up their fate. Finally, lock in at least one of these 3 rounds they will have played so far.
Well, Oxygen, quite dynamic when it comes to their defensive side so far. Looking to add some other things into the mix here for round 9. Dokkaebi coming into play for Vertical. He's been really favoring the air jab so far, and they've been working out masterfully for them, honestly, especially with the ARX work overall, the gunplay really standing tall for him today here too. So BDS looking to see if they can finally muster a defensive round. It's been pretty difficult here for them, especially that last round, looking like one that they could have potentially have had, but just slipping through the cracks as Oxygen found a home for that case.
Nora's ready to burst in through East Main after it's been initially droned out by his teammates. Follow that through. However, the drone needs to go around the hallway as there's 2 additional members of BDS trying to stare down Noors as he attempts to push through the doorway. Nearly manages to clip him off here, but he survives with a little under half of his HP. So still keeps him into it at the end of the day. Now he's got a bit of information as to at least 2 players from BDS and the fact that they're going to be trying to extend out here from the depths of the office. Impact will finish things off against Sweater, though, as he's going to be down yet again on the opener here. Shaiko nearly caught on the fallback towards the office hatch, and still may get caught here as this nade comes in and indeed gets the finisher up onto Shaiko from up above.
I have not seen a frag grenade into Taco or Suicide in so very long, John. That makes me so happy that that ended up killing Shaiko. That is one as old as Border right there. What a lineup from Foxe. Again, goes to show you that something that's used in year 1 doesn't not necessarily work in year almost 8. So pretty crazy stuff. All about that map knowledge at the end of the day, and Shaiko getting outwitted there as that frag grenade poured into his location.
Lems still trying to leap here, and he will. Nicely done as he locks in the headshot against Noors, takes him down. Oxygen struggling to a much greater extent to make these opening kills theirs now. It's going to make that late round crunch a heck of a lot less successful without the opening advantage here, as they try to look for some way to swing this one back. All the big players being knocked out here as well. We still have Vert in the fold, as well as Foxe too. But Dream, it's been far and few between that we see him able to leverage these types of individual plays out. So not necessarily expect that to come from him. Looking to Vert or Foxe to potentially change up the fate of either of these players, and we'll just have to wait and see what they can pull out of the hat here, because BDS, once again, is in full control as far as this round is concerned.
Logic bomb out. Oxygen looking to pick up the pieces. They have got to get kills here. That's what matters. Eliminate a couple of these BDS members will surely open up the gates. Get a little bit easier to get a plant down here. Try and play around the objective. Oh, but the angle's been found. Alems, he's going to step up and he'll take down Vertical. 2 BDS members with 2 big kills, as it's all down to Dream, the man with the least amount to his name for Oxygen. So he's going to quickly work his way in through, and as you can tell, it's not the fact that he can't get those kills, just really the situations haven't been working out for him. Don't know if they've got the hatch open here, and they do. He's going to drop in right on top of his opposition, but it won't even be him to take him out. It'll be a Limbs working his way in from the other side of Workshop. As BDS will stave off map point here. Won't be match point, as that will be the one that they're working towards, but Oxygen trying their damnedest to push this to a map 3.
At least putting them back in the driver's seat as far as that round is concerned. We'll see what the follow-up response is going to be from OXG. BDS also going to be rotating up to a site which they were not able to lock down for themselves the first time they played into it over in Armory and Archives. So we'll see if things work out a little bit better for them on attempt number 2.
Defenders
Coming up here on this round. Oxygen playing into a more intel-oriented lineup, at least initially, to try and suss that out vertical, of course, with the Dokkaebi, to get those calls rolling and figure out what's going on in CCTV. I'm curious how the BDS is going to potentially change up their own security hold, if at all. We do see the Mira being added to this one, which I don't believe was present the last time they played into this site. Everything else, though, remaining very similar, if not exactly the same, to the original play.
Well, it looks like they don't want to get rid of the air jabs now, and that honestly makes so much sense as to how we saw BDS operate in that last round, right? Just a lot more free reign over the building when there's not this pesky little jab that'll knock you on your butt anytime you cross a door or an angle that it's set over top of. So Oxygen are going to adopt that back into the lineup. They're also going to have Newers over on the floor, as don't usually tend to see him on more of the utility-heavy operator. Sometimes we see it on defense. Obviously, we see some Kaid playing, some other things working their way in, but usually he's a soft breach guy. But right now, the floor is coming through. Could see some good drone work from him, and obviously doesn't mean that he can't get aggressive after he gets his job done. That's the trick about Siege. Once you get your task done, you might be Thermite. As long as you get that breach open, go shoot somebody.
We've got yours and the rest of OXG working their way forward here to take their first steps into border yet again. Yours quickly opening things up over towards East Main, as he'll start himself out here. As I imagine Sweater will also be doing in just a second here. You can see him just on the other side there playing the Yada. He's going to be working his way forward as soon as the opportunity presents itself. Sweater, though, like we said before, has been a little bit hit or miss when it comes to these opening kills. So we'll see if it's going to be a hit or a miss this time. In just a second, he's already creeping forward down the red hall. Trying to see if he'll get any challengers from the BDS side of things, but they're not taking the bait on that when they know that those air jabs are alive and well from OXG on this round.
A minute off the board, Oxygen have gotten themselves around the portions of the building that they want to try and get control of, at least initially, with these window plays as well as the east setup here. But BDS, you can see the way that they've set up, the security space. It makes it so very difficult for Oxygen to get any considerable angles in towards Shaiko, and makes it more of a bunker-esque setup than even it normally would be, with even some deployable shields and everything else in there. He's so much safer. Look at the angles that he can play around this. If somebody even wants to walk below that, he just gets to shoot them right in the ankles as they cross the Kiba barrier.
Reload.
Sweater primed up, ready to try and commit himself to the swing over here by West Main. We do have some challenges, but they're waiting behind the wall, so he's not going to find an immediate contestation of that as he approaches the actual breach. 1 minute remaining here as well, so BDS making good time, bleeding it out and away from Oxygen while giving out very little themselves. The nades, though, going to be unsupported there for Renshiro's position as it goes in. He's not going to be able to take out the window outright, of course, but still will deal some pretty considerable damage to Renshiro here. As the rest of the team also is getting ready to move in for the clear on security. Shaiko played it back, played it passively here behind the half wall, and as a result of that, he'll now be ready for the swing coming in from vertical. Will win out that first fight, guarantees a 1-for-1 at a minimum here. He'll certainly be trying to go for 2 in a second as well.
Oh no.
There it
is. Sweater tries to slip through the crack of Fountain and take out the player on the other end, but Shaiko's so quick to the trigger. No one paying attention to this man's location. Put some respect on his name. He will end the round himself. If you let it keep going, Fox 8 down, BDS alive and well here on border.
That'll be the tie now at 5-5. BDS completes the comeback yet again. We've evened ourselves out to the same scoreline we were sitting around at halftime.
This is me. I'm Vert right now. I just got my arms crossed and I'm like, man.
Like, we were winning this 10 minutes ago. Like,
I want to go back to 10 minutes ago.
I'm just going to play with my fingers.
Listen, you got to keep the fingers warm, okay? That's a finger day.
Yeah.
You don't know about that, okay? You've been playing farming games and driving sims recently.
Well, the driving sim one, you got to have warm hands.
I mean, yeah, but it's not a mouse grip.
I wear gloves.
You wear gloves?
Yeah, better grip.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've never had that issue. With steering wheels, at least. I've never been driving down the road and been like, yeah, I need more grip on my steering wheel.
Personally, I have a pair of leather ones just in the dash, you know, ready to...
Are you the transporter?
Yeah.
Can we shave your head and make you Jason Statham?
I don't know if I can do the accent.
I'll get Bert to do it. He can do it in Photoshop.
That's a rough accent to pull off, though. All right, let's get back.
It'll be on the SI account tomorrow. Don't
yeah,
worry.
Something like that.
All right. Well, as you said, getting back into this one, it was a hard-fought round there for Oxygen, but the big issue is that they simply didn't clear out the portions of the map that was the most important to what they were going for as a strategy. That's really it. They just didn't clear security, and they allowed Shaiko to get away with way more than he should have ever been allowed in like a 5-foot square box. He didn't move, man. He stayed in the same spot. He killed 4 people.
Never really using the full depth of security there. Like you said, just playing entirely around the half wall / like red rotate area and just takes command of the entire situation there. Maybe some confusion from Oxygen as well. Potentially Sweater not realizing that he was still there when he went for his own play and nearly was able to clip off another player deeper behind beepers or something like that, I think. So just a little bit of potential mix-up there from Oxygen, as you said, that unfortunately stops them from closing it down as they just cannot get rid of Shaiko's position there.
That's a bad, bad man, John. You do not want to be on the bad side of Shaiko. Can quickly end an entire round all with his own shoulders. I'm going to try and take a game with him right now. 15-6-1. He does not need your assists. He just needs those kills. Now Oxygen have to try and deal with the unkillable Demon King that we've now spawned on BDS's side. See what Shaiko can possibly perform, as it's been heroic so far for BDS.
Like with the lineup to fend off any early jail pushes, obviously it's been swung right open by the OXG roster. Mirror's not going to waste any time. Pretty much immediately with the hop in as soon as it's been cleared out, and the drone gives that all clear. Knows there's going to be a motion detector on the other side of the wall, though. That's more than likely why, like the fact that the rest of BDS were okay to just kind of leave this opening as is. So they would get the advance warning if anyone actually tried to push it, which I think the Lems may have just gotten informed of that one. Heard the beep off in the distance. I think they're now going to try to push the envelope a little bit further out from that position. Sweater, of course, primed from that spot, is ready to make himself into a good position to push back through into the lobby here and start taking some control away, but not able to immediately daisy chain that into anything against BDS. BDS has thrived on being as passive as possible until Oxygen, of course, have been baited into their own setup, at which point we'll try to snap the jaws shut and pick up all the kills at once.
Yeah, BDS, very similar to a lion's den here that Oxygen is working around, but vertical. Quick to the trigger, almost a third one. This will take out a Lems and Liquefact. Shaiko finally able to get a kill, and it'll be on to Newer. Sweater potentially with another big one, and yes, taking down Shaiko. I think they found a home for this case as well, but do they know BDS at the back of this? SMG-11 in hand, and it will travel. Takes down Sweater. Case is going to be on Dream. Immediately to BDS left here. Not gonna try and go for this plant either. Where is Renshiro? That's the real question, and we found him. He's upstairs. He's gonna take down Vert. He's gonna make this a 2 versus 2. It's anybody's ball game here.
This comes down to it. Renshiro beginning to rotate in, will try to cut off the plant and nearly in position to do it as well. Don't think the angle is going to be presented though, as Dream has some cover to work towards there where he was planting from. Another player from the BDS roster going to get clipped off. However, at the same time, BDS found out there via a nade, forced into the open where OXG is able to properly respond to the previous rounds lost and now put themselves up on a map point first.
BDS have an opportunity to quickly push us into overtime and try and get us figured out on the second map. If they do that, still the potential to win this out 2-0. If not, obviously, we're quickly transitioning into a third map, which will be Clubhouse. One that a lot of people were very surprised that Oxygen let through up against BDS.
So for Vent and Workshop here,
attackers need to locate
will be the final site of regulation. BDS will try to hold the line here. And the good news is this is where we have seen them find success earlier on. This is the site where they took a pause directly after a loss here, came back and shut it down. So let's see if they'll find those same results. Be able to trigger OT and still get the 2-0 hopes alive. Or if indeed Oxygen can take us on the warpath to that third and final map here. Operator lineups are remaining very, very similar. They are pretty much set in stone at this point. Both teams are pretty well satisfied with what they bring to the table, so you're not going to see much innovation on that throughout the rest of this game here. Everything else lining up Very, very similar to how they played this before with the doubling down of the positioning upstairs. You can see BDS sending pretty much all of their players up here to maintain extended positions, or at the very minimum help with the setup.
Quite a few fantastic pieces of utility for the defense here, especially with the Lems bringing the Mira along for the ride. A lot of solid info game to be played around that, and some potential kills that come from it too. See if that could potentially assist them, especially when it comes to the balcony here on the western side. Lems is going to be playing side of Fountain. Still have a couple of BDS members trolling around here. Is this indeed going to be Shy going here again? It will be. This seems to be his home for now. Always with Lickyfac right in tow. Oh my, Renshiro. Ill-advised, a literal millisecond peek, and Sweater sends shots that connect. No!
Shaiko nearly gets found out as well. Sweater realizes it in the final moments of that spray as well. So doubles back, tries to finish it back off, but Shaiko gets himself into a safer harbor there, keeps himself alive. How long is going to be the question here. They need to try and find somebody to lay. Lems tries to dash out, make Oxygen think twice about pressuring over here towards Westmate again. It seems, at least initially, that has worked. But for the time being, Oxygen just pulling back so they can go back onto their drones and start to analyze if they have a direct option to work their way into the site instead.
Well, the patience game now for Oxygen. They got the lead-off pick and also a ton of damage off onto Shaiko, and they are very aware of that. They're going to use this round to their fullest advantage. It's into the drone game now to try and confirm some things and find a place for this case. And we're just double-checking things over inside of server. Some solid positioning across the board here from Oxygen as they're working their way in from the western side.
Nora's in. Can he strike first here? Can he lock in that target? Bride responds initially, but eventually goes down to Noor's vertical. And Sweater, though, still fighting back at this one as they take upstairs control away also, leaving just Lickyfac in the fray. Lickyfac at least recontrols the upstairs position, but can he actually stop the plant? Now, that is the issue, as he does not have the intel in terms of where it's going to be planted down for. And unfortunately, it will not be able to. Oh, no, he will actually find it through the hatch there, takes down Noor's, drops the case. Less than a minute left here. This is still somewhat workable for him and the rest of BDS.
Oh my god, he hit Fox. He knows someone's up top. He can do this with the revolver. There's no way Vert re-challenges this. He's so coordinated when it comes to these things. Fox, is he gonna get off the case? He will. Oh, he was so very close. Wow.
That gosh darn revolver, man. Just so hard to control the recoil on that one. I think he lost himself a little bit after he actually, I think, did kill the planter, but then got immediately traded. And like I said, reeling from the recoil, just was not able to adjust his aim appropriately enough in time. What an attempt, though, but it's still, importantly enough, goes over to Oxygen at the end of the day. They take it at the bitter end regulation here, and are going to be able to push us on to map number 3 on Clubhouse.
Incredible game there from Oxygen, having to shut down Shaiko all over again. 16 kills out of the machine. This time, it's going to land on deaf ears. We'll be right back after this break with Clubhouse to see who will take this best of 3.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a 2-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do you do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position, that is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
But they need to be careful they don't overcommit. Arcully is going to find Dash, and that was the player I was talking about. So whilst, yes, you know, it can be good to spread yourself out, I've said it a few times about Lost One, Cyclops have been dealing with it really well, isolating players and finding kills. And again, Lost One now on the back foot. Not only that, Dots is low health as well, and it's a site they haven't successfully held so far.
You're trying to cheese the cheese makers, basically, Tim. Like, you're never going to surprise them, and admittedly, I thought maybe Cyclops might do that in round 1 of Theme Park against Lost One, but even they had a read on it. I'm just a bit concerned that they keep on looking for these early fights. It could be down to 5v3 already here. I've spoken about it to death. You get the idea. It's just aggression they've got to be really careful about picking and taking. Now they're looking to challenge in towards Piano, as they know very well that Cyclops are working their way up on that west side rappel, and they're getting ready to take over Piano with a couple of players around the windows, up on the roof. Again, I'll come to that point. No one is inside the building for Cyclops, but they've almost got 2 kills.
Great example of the difficulty of playing the washroom mirror as well. It can be taken out pretty easily. The hatch drop comes in. I think Black Ray's aware of that, though. He's going to give chase to Rise, who's gone underneath now. Rise did bring the shield rather than the nitro, so can't offer too much value from underneath. He's going to need to pretty much get himself straight back up White Stairs.
Oh my God!
Been taken out there by the Rotero. No, not the Rotero, it was the shock drone. Absolutely beautiful play from Anaton.
That's hilarious. Oh my God, I love it.
Really often you see that.
I thought it was a drone. I kind of ignored it because I saw it in my peripheral. I was like, okay, it's a drone just watching you get the res. No one can really capitalize, and then zip, down he goes. So 2 taken out. Now looking to blow their way through, with these being shot off the wall by an ally. Maya having his wall kept alive, at least for now. It's got to be wary. There's also a challenge coming on these window, and there goes the mirror window. This now exposed means that things are suddenly nowhere near as secure for Lost One as they'd hope. 3 versus 4.
No, it's looking very shaky for them at the minute. Suzuki has diffuser in hand, and they're just trying to get forward into a position to be able to put it down. Arcully, look at the aggression there, but maybe just a bit too much as Maya manages to find a double. We're now in a 2v2 after Suzuki with the trade. Ayagator finds Rise. It's all up to Dots. He's in the freezer. I'm not sure that they know. He tries to spring out and stop the plant, but can't get the kill. And Ayagator moves around and picks up the round. 5-1 for Cyclops.
Whew, 5-1's a great half coming in on the attacking side of Cafe as well. You understand maybe it was on the defensive side, but here doing so on the attack is fantastic. Now they get to go on what is no doubt considered the more preferable side in this map on their own map pick. Tim, I would be shocked if we are not seeing map 3 tonight.
I think it's certainly looking that way. Lost One are going to have to bring something special here on the attack. The thing is, even if you favour the attacking side of Cafe, you've just been absolutely battered for 6 rounds effectively. You managed to pick one of them up, but, you know, Lost One, they are going to be pretty cold at the minute. You've got a few operators, a few players there lobbing Rise, you know, 3 kills between the 2 of them, 3 kills in 6 rounds. You know, it's not really setting them up for success on the attack.
Absolutely. But that Solus once again coming out. We've seen that kind of form as a bit of a bait for some teams. Lost One back in the first half. Very similar story. Yeah, they were trying to use that information they found on drones to guess where players were, because you can use it, of course, to see when a player steps up to a drone outside the map and picks it up.
And we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen, here live with our game from the Alpha stream yet again. If you'd like to continue watching the game you were just watching, that is going to be over on the Bravo stream. Feel free to go ahead and check that one out if you want to see the continuation of that match. But it's back to BDS versus Oxygen, which has gone to a full 3 maps now. Over here onto Clubhouse for the 3rd map. It's going to fall back over onto BDS now to find the response after Oxygen rebounded and was ultimately able to take control of their own map pick.
I was going to say, we know what you actually want to watch, which is the ending to this bout between Shaiko and Newers. We have to have an end to this tale. Who is going to be better in the group stage? Well, it all comes down to this Clubhouse, a map that BDS has been so very dominant on throughout most of their past. 13-1 on it over recent history, which is absolutely fantastic. And Oxygen choosing to let this one seep through the cracks. We'll see if that is going to spell damnation for them or be one of the smartest things they could have potentially ever done.
We'll have to wait and see if that ends up being the case. You can see, of course, BDS having some impassioned words before they go into it for the final time here. This is going to be it in terms of their capability to strike true. Like we said, both of these teams ultimately winning their opening matches yesterday, or rather, excuse me, let's correct myself. Just remembered BDS once again actually dropped their opening game, so this one is a must-win for them to get themselves back on solid footing to make sure they do not line themselves up for a potential upset early on here in the group stage. As of course, they lost to CAG. And their best of 3 yesterday was Oxygen that really had to go for the full distance, full 3 maps for them in their opening matchup versus Astralis yesterday. Away from that, though, Oxygen still with a chance to really seal the deal in terms of trying to make a definitive statement towards the top of this group. If they can follow through and win out on this series, be a Herculean effort, in my opinion, to be sure, given how lights out BDS had seemed for the majority of the first map, and of course the first half of this second map. But we have to see what exactly Clubhouse is going to present, as it'll be a very different map stylistically to what we have already played into.
Absolutely. It'll be a huge change up, very rigid when it comes to Clubhouse and a lot of our strategies. It's starting to open up a little bit more, especially with teams starting to flirt a little bit more with the bar defense, but I don't think we'll be seeing anything too outlandish here today. We might get one of those, but we'll just have to see how it goes. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I'm expecting a fairly, plain Jane Clubhouse. Both of these teams really just trying to work those fundamentals and take it to each other in the most grandiose fashion when it comes to Clubhouse, which obviously isn't all that grandiose.
Yep. Certainly not the case. Like you said, very rigid. The map, in my opinion, is for the most part kind of played out here. You have a few small things you can innovate on when it comes to individual playmaking moments, but aside from that, the overall approach that you go for the most part, is going to be pretty set in stone unless you figured out something very new to bring to the table. So we'll be seeing that in front of us here for the first time. Taking a look at Shaiko and Foxay, who I believe are the current top players here for this matchup at the moment here. Foxy's been pretty consistent across the 2 maps. Norris as well has still been firing off on all cylinders, but I do believe he has been struggling here and there every once in a while. So Foxy has picked up the mantle in that regard. We have his stats compared against Shaiko there for you guys so far in the series.
Yeah, well, Newers before this series started was the highest rated player in the entirety of the tournament, not the league. We're not in a stage right now. I mean, technically we are, but it happens to be at SI, our biggest tournament of the year. But yeah, Newers being the upper echelon of Oxygen before this series started, and still showing really good face, but I would definitely say that Foxay has had the most consistent looks throughout this entire series so far, and that's not a knock to Newers at all. He's also been doing a pretty bang-up job, but Fox has been doing just such a positive energy around this team when he's there, right? He's making so many positive plays, the good comms and everything else in between really boding well for Oxygen, on top of everything else that he's accomplishing inside of the map. So now we'll get into things here as we've delayed long enough, and I'm sure you guys are ready to get into this as well. It's going to be Clubhouse here to wrap up things on A-Stream today. Nook and Thatcher going to be banned out first, and this is as straightforward an affair as you can get when it comes to bans in Rainbow Six.
First defender ban coming up now, and it's going to be the choice from BDS. Cade is eliminated here, as we still tend to see quite a bit of play from both him and Bandit to try and reinforce both those hatches as well as the primary walls in order to access the interior of the CCTV and cash room, as well as the gym one as well. Valkyrie is going to be the final ban. Valkyrie still has plenty of useful positions to throw down those cameras, and just universally a very flexible operator, so I'm going to be knocking her out. Plenty of other choices that could have been presented, but once again, that's going to leave both Azami as well as Solus in play as a result of that choice.
Pretty interesting that we actually ended up seeing Solus make her way through. Valkyrie, obviously a very potent op, especially when it comes to the info game on site, and this map considers that quite heavily. So probably a pretty good ban, but that also means that Foxay and whoever for BDS is probably going to be on Solus the entire time trying to deal with this drone game. And look, there you go. Already, Fox has a drone because he knew that it was going to go through that drone hole. This operator is just absolutely crazy.
So we'll probably be able to snipe out at least a few more here as he goes around to rotate through and reinforce a few of these hatches.
I'm not wrong. This is 2 up in the top left there, right? They've lost 3 drones already? I'm interested to see.
4 now.
BDS? Hello? Okay, let's get to the main phase before we start getting grief about this. There's no way, right?
Yeah.
Those 4 drones.
Because the observer just panned.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Thank God. Okay, I was gonna say there's no way that BDS.
I think that part of the UI just bugs a bit.
All right, cool. That's fine. As long as BDS isn't just throwing their drones to the wolves, that's all I care about. I was like, guys, come on here, okay? We still have a chance to win this. You got all the way to map 3.
So it is just going to be 2 of those drones that end up getting knocked out inside of the prep phase. Here is at least one we saw get found by Fox. Another one just got probably a little unlucky with his pathing and walked into somebody from the OXG roster. But the spawns are in. The basement set is deployed here at BDS, wasting no time trying to get themselves access to the inside. CCTV and Cashier as well. We do have Sweater trying to resist that push, but with virtually 0 utility supporting this position, he has to very quickly give it back up. And no support on the blue hold here either, despite the fact that we had a zombie barricade pre-positioned here. Just a player from BDS hopping directly into it. Newers realizes this is too hot of a situation now, so he falls back through the supply hatch, deeper into blue. He's going to try to recenter himself with the rest of his team in the actual site. Vert also in billiards currently, so still a few tricks up the Oxygen sleeve as they try to get at least one more trade back onto BDS for the loss of Sweater.
Well, positive start for BDS. Top floor control. Detaching some of these rooms and likely going to play into this potentially vertically. Unless they're going to clear everything else on this mid floor with the drone game, which obviously also a very positive strategy. Looks like we could potentially have Solus on the other end there. Only one with that shape of a helmet. I know my silhouettes, baby. So that's going to be Fox 8 working his way back down the stairwell. And it's going to be hatch work now here for BDS. Just seeing if Oxygen wanted to continue this war, and they do. Vertical should be dead to rights here, though. He is stuck. There's no way that he is getting out of this. He has to stick to this back hallway, but if it's played out correctly and timing's on his side, he could be able to actually do something for Oxygen that could win them the round here. But as soon as I say that, he's dead and gone, and Newers with quite a bit of damage after that frag grenade lands on him as well.
Foxy, Newers, and Dream, the final 3 remaining, and Newers basically dead already here with the low HP. He's working with a single bullet, takes him down for the count. Oh, so unfortunate timing for Dream as well. Walks right into a falling grenade. Thankfully, he's able to dash out of the way, but he's already mid-sprint. Avoids his own death, but still loses half of the HP here. As BDS is really just waiting down the timer, waiting to see if they can catch another mistake from Oxygen. They've already found some success in doing this by knocking out that half HP from Dream. Patience continues to give them more and more credit here as Breeding lines up another shot, finishes off Newers just on to Fox A and scratch that. Really just Fox A now, as Renshiro has taken down Dream.
Well, Dream the only one with a frag here, unless Fox is able to manage the man at the bottom of the stairwell, but not capable, as Kool-Aid quickly was spamming at him there through the wall. Able to find it, very well done there. Oxygen abusing everything, or rather BDS abusing everything to the fullest up against Oxygen. Not really too much to find. I mean, the control immediately going over to BDS. They at least got some drones initially, but the way that BDS worked the map from the top floor made it nigh impossible for Oxygen to get all that much. You know, also Vertical trying to take the fight through the hatch there wasn't exactly the greatest of things. Fighting whenever you're looking up at somebody is always difficult because their hitbox is pretty tiny, right? You just got to play around and try and tap him in the head with that slight little head peek that he's got going on there, but just could not find it. And that was really all she wrote for Oxygen on that mid floor. Team BDS past that were able to fully abuse Armory and take it into their full advantage, getting that plant down and making the round impossible for Oxygen from there on out.
BDS will not surprise too much with regards to what they are going to bring to the table here. Their attacking side. Wait and see if any more bigger changes comes in, but now this will be locked. Just Renshiro going over to the line is all we have to write home about now. Indeed, we're still going to be sticking with a very similar defensive lineup too, as you would expect with us sticking with the same site here. The Solus, as well as the Azami still in play. And still a bit of an extended game, as you might expect with these 2 operators in check too for Oxygen here. Unfortunately, that extension very much led to their downfall, in my opinion, at the beginning of the first round there, and their inability to kind of keep themselves obscured, or at a minimum, just waste out the time instead of giving up their own lives in those earlier fights. So we'll see if they're going to be better suited for that this time around here. As we see Shaiko, once again, no respect to the blue hop-in, just goes right for it. Has a little bit of a barricade to sort of help him out here as well, but it's a double-edged sword as it's helping Sweater just as much here. Impact goes in. Destroys the utility info for him, and Newers as well. I think from the bottom of blue, snipes out Shaiko. Nicely played there to bring some heat off of his teammate. Sweater as well, free to push back into that area of the map and reassert the control as well.
Yeah, very well done from those two. The team play working out extremely well in that regard. Alem's on the tailcoats of a player working their way down the main stairs. He has the cross now for Moto, but is there anything else to try and find some info on their position? Dream's going to get tagged up as a couple of bullets tag him in the chest. Nobody dead just yet, though, on Oxygen. Still a lot to do, though, for BDS. Need to get these hatches open and the soft destruction going. Alems is going to go down, though, leaving, well, not just a singular hard breach. We still have Lickyfac here as well with the secondary hard breach in his pocket, so still can abuse that, but definitely feeling the burn when it comes to the man count.
Lickyfac begins to shift his way down to the bottom of main. Won't have any direct contention against him from this position, but still will have to try it and swing himself forward. Move up, look for the shot through blue, but instead the shot will come for the defenders instead. Brewers finds the lineup, is able to eliminate Lickyfac. BDS with one more trade back into this one, but it's too chaotic right now for these guys to control. They need to contain this, they need to knock down a few more of these pegs, and certainly have started the process of doing so with BDS finding a second kill, but it all goes quiet after this. Oxygen also realizes they have bitten off a bit more than they can chew from this situation, so they peel back, play into the site yet again, and they're going to be tucking their tail between their legs, relying on the player advantage they've already built up now.
Renshiro, 0 EE, 1 Ds. Just the V308 to his name. BDS also obviously on a pretty big round so far. The only 2 kills that BDS have been able to muster have been from his banner. Now he'll be readjusting over towards main stairs. Might be trying to get the bar hatch open here, but no, it's going to just drop straight up and down. Already pre-opened there. Looks like this pre-use hatch not going to do too much. Just be able to trade things out, but it's mostly Renshiro getting the heavy lifting done. Going to be a 1 versus 2. Both of them inside of Church. Capable, but Foxay will knock him down a peg. And it'll be Oxygen with their very first round here on Clubhouse.
Oxygen back into the fold very, very quickly after a bit of a bump in the road there for round number 1, but they immediately recenter themselves. Correct the obvious mistakes that are made, specifically over there by the blue stairs pretty quickly here too, to make sure that the early round goes a heck of a lot better, and as a result of that one, the rest of the round seems to follow suit. And we see a quick lockdown from Oxygen over there into the basement hold. Bar stage is, interestingly enough, going to be the next one we see Oxygen go to. Obviously, we've seen this one played quite a bit in other regions outside of NA, but NA itself, still a bit of a rare pick that we tend to see this one. They've slowly been adapting themselves into it, so I'd expect a similar setup to what we have seen in those other regions here from Oxygen. But still, certainly not the site we've seen them specifically pick into a heck of a lot.
Well, Oxygen, how we're going to work this one out. Castle barricades abound with a decent amount of utility, but really no mitigation when it comes to a lot of these different areas. Gonna have the castle barricades here to be able to obviously assist. Also Solus along for the ride, but this time she'll be in the hands of newer, some very capable hands. Dream will have some camera work going on with the Evil Eyes to keep some semblance of info game going for them. And then Vertical more than likely just to keep a few important walls barred for at least a little while longer. Looks like it's going to be on Jacuzzi and potentially some single panels across the top floor, making this clear not as straightforward for BDS as they don't have any EMPs.
Utility going to be taken down over there, supporting that bomb chassis position. The Roteros will do their work. Exactly why they are brought to the table in the first place, is you have no other way to access this room from the outside. We'll just chuck a drone into it and blow it up instead. Pretty much the quintessential reason why we continue to see this operator brought time after time again since his introduction. Some areas over by West Main already opened up, or rather the east balcony, I should say. Still use the last map. That's been opened up now. They'll be able to forge forward. BDS can begin clearing out some more of these extensions up to the second floor, but they are a huge proponent of Oxygen's defense, so it is not going to be easy in any sense of the word to take those down.
BDS, thermite charge in the panel for construction, and it'll work out for him. Make a new line of sight in towards Master, make it difficult to play around the bed space. Be able to get a castle barricade for their troubles as well out of those Rotero drones. I think a couple of those still lying in Alem's pocket as well if he wants to continue to apply those towards the site as he sees fit. We're about halfway through here and BDS are building up to trying to execute into this top floor, looking for some eliminations to open up a spot to potentially put a case down. It's going to be the frag grenade here from Shaiko. They've got the ping, nade out. He's going to have to run back through this. Honestly, not that much damage dealt to him, all things considered. Immediately hops over into red is going to be EFAC to try and take down both players, and he'll get it done. Almost a triple, but now it's going to be Shaiko to try and bear down onto Newers, but won't be exactly the look they were looking for. Instead, it'll be the frag grenade onto Vertical inside of the bathroom, and he'll quickly get dispatched as it only goes down to Newers and Sweater.
BDS with the lineup against Vertical, at least takes him down and eliminates more of that defensive prowess from Oxygen. Newers going to see if he can rotate back up, but very little intel being presented on the scope here from the Solus. He'll find one there. At least gets the intel into one of them. Knows that a drone is going to be lurking towards him here too. He'll be sussed out as a result of that though. The jig is up. He's got to make the play or back up from this position. So what's he going to do? Just maintain stairs pressure for the time being. We wait out the rest of that timer. Flash will be dumped on top of him. Avoids most of the blinding effect, but does have to give up stairs control as a result of that one. So returns back down to the zone of play on the first floor here, where Sweater is also waiting for him. Sweater, in the meanwhile, has heard the appropriate drop from the other side of stage and snipes out a Lems, who attempts to push forward from that one. 15 seconds left, and Renshiro has now found the cross to eliminate Sweater. Newers is the last saving grace here. He's got some hot pings, though, coming in to help him out. Shaiko gets dropped. That's not the planter. Does find a second one, though, in the form of Renshiro getting eliminated. BDS with the plant going down. Like Effect has the counter, but he's so low on HP. Thankfully, he buys enough time and sets up BDS for success in the final seconds of the round.
Very well done there from BDS. Constantly able to take it to Oxygen and hitting him where it hurts, the man count as well. I mean, you can do anything you want with time and utility, but when you are down that many people, you are definitely going to be feeling that pressure. And that's why we see Newers positioning in the way that he did on Master Stairs. He has to try and recoup that somehow, but no, BDS really just not giving them any look that would give them any inkling, any chance back into this round. That's going to be it for round 3, going into the favor of BDS. The French rise again. They're looking to do so yet again here on round 4. This time, Oxygen not going to be defending Bar. This time, it'll be upstairs instead of Master and Waits.
And so as Oxygen falls behind once more, they will look for the rebound as Bar and Stage, the awkward site as far as North American teams are concerned, does not pay out into their favor. They'll go back to the more traditional ones as they go over here to Gym for the potential final site of their rotation. Still a good possibility we see them go over towards CCTV and Cache as well if they do need another site to lock into, but at the same time, Basement will be unlocked entering round 5, so good possibility we will just see them route back over to that one. BDS, though, has spawned. Once again, has given us a very straightforward operator lineup for this attack, so let's see how they can try to make it work against the Gym setup from OXG.
Pulling up the side is BDS. Gonna have the case on him, and he has been the backbone of this team for such a very long time, hasn't he? Always the hard support player that they look to try and win out those clutch situations, get a plant down, do the heavy lifting jobs that are required in Siege, and he does such a bang-up job of it. Lem's also going to be onto the Mav here, torching up the single panel for construction. He'll make himself a nice little hole up top here. Might be something just for him to be able to play an angle in towards off this rappel, and that's looking like exactly what he wants to go for here. Get this little piece down here, but he's gonna have to worry about the spam coming through. And wow, I'm really surprised Vertical was not aware. Completely caught off guard by the fact that somebody was gonna break that up and immediately take that gunfight with him. So unfortunate circumstances befall Vertical, but that's gonna be a big boon for BDS.
Big miss leads to a big death at the end of the day here against OXG's favor. That should give up the majority of construction control as well, assuming that BDS do want to utilize that to push themselves into the site. An attempt has been made here to try and pop things open over towards Jacuzzi, and it should go off without a hitch as we do have the Mav holes lined up from the bottom there, which has popped away those batteries and removed the electrification on the wall there. As we take a look at some of the defensive setups, though, Sweater on that very same bandit has now been pushed back into the depths of the bathroom. A nade goes deep, or at least it attempts to, behind the Logi Mira window. But Foxay not tripped up by it. Was already stepped back pretty far, and I think the nade bounced at the last second off the corner there, so it does not end up impacting him in the way our attackers would have liked for it to.
Zofia for EFAC, concussions out, entire utility kit dumped, and a dead man now on the ground, all in a moment's notice, all because of Newers. What a rotation from him. Now Shaiko forced to deal with this fate. So there's going to be a mirror window directly to his right. Some utility in, a frag grenade out, no frags here, and almost a dead Shaiko if that would have went the wrong way. Oxygen doing such a solid job of standing on this strategy tall. 10 toes down up against BDS right now. They are swinging, and these punches are connecting. Shaiko to fall. It's Renshiro on the master balcony, and they know exactly where he is now. Might quickly be dispatched. I don't know exactly where it's going to come in from, but it will happen momentarily. Only 17 seconds remaining as he hops in to CCTV. He'll work his way through Cash to the singular door. Be seen on the Mira, more than likely falter here. But no, it'll be Foxy actually going down. Renshiro actually might stay alive just for the stat pad. We're about to find out. Sweater, though, has a different sense in mind there. He's going to thread the needle. He'll take out the lone soldier for BDS, and Oxygen will get their round.
So Oxygen fight back yet again, maintain positioning here in order to put themselves on that better foot forward and tie us back up once again. It's been a very similar chain of events here throughout all three of our maps, where it's one team goes on a bit of a tear, the other team then responds to it. And in this map specifically, it's just been a seesaw, back and forth and back again now. So far into Oxygen's favor as they take a second round just then and there to tie it back up one more time against BDS and send us into those final 2 rounds with the dead heat scored. Oxygen going now for their 3rd attempt on the basement here. First one a failure, second one a success. Time to see if number 3 will yield the same results as the most recent attempt. For BDS, we are going to see a Jackal get swapped in here for Lycovac as well. Hopefully be able to track down the roaming members on the 1st and 2nd floor a little bit more efficiently, as that did waste out their time a little bit more. More importantly, Oxygen was able to actually escape on the 2nd attempt here and then use those player positions to still win things out deeper into the basement itself when push came to shove.
How crazy is it that Oxygen is neck and neck right now with BDS, the people that just won the Youngshipping Major just a couple of months ago, you know, and not only that, but they beat Team Liquid of all squads, which only really had one downfall, which happened to be Skyscraper. Every other thing that they did was so hotly contested, and they seemed almost unstoppable. It seemed like the tournament for them, but BDS had it at that moment. They're going to have the opening kill here as well, as they're looking to take the lead all over again.
Lycovac with more spam going into the main stairs window there. Set out after a successful opening pick against Newers. All that roaming pressure now going to fall over towards players like Sweater. And on top of that as well, Foxy still on the Solus with quite a bit of capability to potentially catch out some of the early action from BDS, but it's quite contained as far as they're concerned at the moment here. Oxygen as well, already looking at options to rotate their players back down, but Vert's going to realize that that won't be such an easy task here, as he's now lost the supporting window behind that main staircase, as well as had an avenue opened up against his potential route over to the next hatch. He'll be able to still make it, and thankfully there's a few zombie barricades blocking the way out from construction too, so I believe Vert is still relatively safe when everything is said and done. May not be able to say that any longer though. Shaiko gets the successful pick onto Sweater. That was the support from Cash side that he had for himself there. So now Vertical is truly out on an island, but at the same time, they're down 3v5. There's a very good chance, even if he decides to take the safe option and rotate back, that he still ends up dying here. He's going to end up going for that when everything is said and done. And here we go. That's what I was worried about. That's why he was probably sticking around there for so long, hoping that he might have been able to just get a 1-for-1 battle and go to the death with that one, taking one member of BDS with him. But he can't even make that happen as he dies with no trades to be seen or even attempted, unfortunately.
Rotation there from Foxy, but bewilderment from EFAC. So quickly take him down. Dream, bottom of the stairwell, quickly hurling himself towards it as well, but doesn't seem like it's going to last all that much longer. A lot of damage from Shaiko, and he'll finally deliver the death blow. The bells toll, and it's a flawless round for BDS as they take the lead again.
Tough one for the members of OXG. Every single step they tried to take just seemed like the wrong one for them there. So their strategy falls flat on its face. The extension once again leads them into their own death. And with that, BDS will take the lead for at least one more round here. Time to see if the Seesaw will continue to move, though, as once more Oxygen go right back into the basement. 4 out of 6 of the rounds in this half by Oxygen will have been played on the same site here. So let's see if they can at least get that 50% win ratio by closing out on another round 3 for themselves here to tie us up once again at 3-all.
Basement setup here for Oxygen. Gonna have the mirrors as well as the bandit batteries here to try and rebuff those and make sure they're not as easily openable. obviously won't have access to the electro claws of Kaid, so a lot of the hatch play will be less nuanced here. We have some impacts that they could potentially use, but with the way Habana works nowadays, it's really not the most beneficial thing to try and constantly work out, you know, 2 little X-Kairos every single time they land on top of a hatch. Just kind of a waste of an impact, so might as well just try and play for it open instead. So we'll see what Oxygen wants to do with this. Everything applied and set and ready. Now BDS out the gates to see what they can do here for their last offensive round.
As we continue to see the rest of the players from BDS take their opening positions across the map. We're going to be on board with Shaiko at least initially here. Lems, that's our star player. So we go to him and take a look at his clearance of the club. He'll rotate himself back over here towards main stairs as well, where the first footprint will present itself. Unfortunately, it's someone way down the depths of the basement, so that info is pretty much useless at this stage of the round here, except for knowing now that the alibi has already made their descent back downstairs. Would have loved to grab Foxay here as he's playing a little bit closer to the actual fight on the staircase, but even he now will back up. It's a full bunker for OXG, it looks like at this point, just having those few players peek out on the staircase to see if they could get lucky, but did not want to full commit there by any means.
BDS with control of the mid floor. Oxygen really nothing going for them when it comes to that. I'd rather play it downstairs, play it out off of the utility. See if they can try and get ahead of BDS in that regard when it comes down to these dying moments. Although with no delay in place, this could be a fairly quick round for BDS. Seeing them try and send themselves down these hatches, some smokes out, X-Kairos as well to break up the mirror window there. Frag grenade out from Shaiko, won't deal any damage. They're still trying to hold things onto the door. Nobody at AK now for him. Has to get this Legion Mine out of his foot, but as he does so, Newers will capitalize. Low HP, but that's a heck of a lot different than dead.
Frontier and the rest of BDS primed for the drop now, but they're still resisting forces from Oxygen waiting on the other end of the equation here. They're going to have to watch out for the electrified walls as well, not helping the equation as BDS has lost their first player here on the descent. They're really going to struggle to try and even set one foot into the basement as a result of the current setup from OXG. It's now a question of if BDS has the appropriate amount of utility to flush that back, and the leading answer right now would look towards a no, but we'll have to wait and see as Lems finally changes up the fate for his team, but can only be a one-and-done operator, it seems. Picks up the first one. Now Buride takes up the mantle as he moves forward, knocking down Sweater. Newers to keep things under the control of Oxygen, though, by trading out another push from Blue.
Plant to go down, cover from Renshiro. It's going to be on main. Buride baiting the fight. Foxay, what a decision to be made there. It so quickly dispatched the player at the bottom of the main stairs, but now they have to try and get something done. Foxay, Nitro Cell out, and it actually might get him. It will. He couldn't get back through the rotation. All he needed to do was man the angle properly as Fox peeked with an entire Nitro Cell in hand, but just wasn't ready for the fight. And we have a 3-3 half here on Clubhouse.
So another 3-3 scoreline is deployed. Had the same exact thing happen back on map number 2, and I want to say we had something fairly similar go on back in map number 1.
It was 4-2. They were really
was it 4-2? Okay, yeah. I was about to say, I thought we had a 3-3 at first, but yeah, you're right. It was the 4-2. That a little bit of an extra extension happened there, where we have been neck and neck throughout the course of this entire series. Neither team can seem to escape by more than a round or two. As we have once again deadlocked ourselves at the switch. Time to see what OXG can bring us on the attacking side and how BDS's basement defense looks. We saw 4 times from OXG. I'm sure we're going to see it at least a bit from BDS, but now time to see if they can lock things down a little bit more quickly this time around.
You feeling another overtime here?
I'd say it's likely.
I'm feeling it as well.
We need to see a round or two of this half first.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think that would give us a little bit of a better context as to if we are going to be headed that way. But, you know, if we had to call it right now, I definitely say that it feels like we're barreling towards it pretty quickly. Like you said, either one of these teams cannot allow the other to be ahead by 2 rounds. It's just not humanly possible.
Yep, very much the case. Let's see if that's going to remain the situation as we now commit ourselves to the depths of round 7. Shaiko actually electrifying the walls over here by the main balcony to try and prevent an early clear coming in from Oxygen and keep potentially a Lems as well as the construction players positioned alive for just that little bit of an extra amount of time. Unfortunately, it's going to be a moot point when you consider that, well, they just have the Maverick to try and work their way directly past it. Should be able to pull this off. No about another 10 to 20 seconds or so, they will have access to the room anyway and can begin splitting up the defensive setup here from BDS.
Nice little lesson on Mav tricking there from Foxy for all of you at home. Always a line at top first, followed up by a quick one at the bottom. Just make sure you get your points to the right and left. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up in between a rock and a hard place where you're trying to fight back across the angle that you already made and fix it up. And that's potentially the worst scenario to be in with a Maverick. It's usually how you end up dying. But Foxy, a professional when it comes to these things, very quick to get rid of those walls.
Bringing in with a lot of patience built up here, waiting for that initial swing to come in from Oxygen over on the main balcony hole, but it's going to work out at the end of the day. As he strikes true, takes down the push from Sweater and eliminates the Zofia from contention here on round number 7. Shaiko feels the job has been done well enough, so falls back into Oil Pit and retreats to the site. We'll leave the players inside of CCTV and Cash, and eventually Construction are going to be pulling off the same thing here now. That one kill is all they feel that was necessary from these positions. And away from that, it's about rotating back down safely now.
Well, Oxygen, they've lost Sweater. Doesn't mean that they can't still claim the round. BDS, though, with the positioning that they've been able to adapt, especially for EFAC, this position going to be such a nuisance. Shaiko also making the situation so much worse after taking down Newers, who has by far and away been the top contender here for Oxygen. Now across the board, I would say, given the circumstances of all of the maps, Foxy kind of slowing down just a bit, still staying in contention at 5 and 4, but Newers really picking up the pace when it comes to these kills.
A bomb has been located.
Drill will be the first to start his descent for Oxygen and reach the bottom of the main stairs position. I like the fact, though, already working on a flank from, it looked like Kitchen, if I read the position correctly there. Vert, though, gets an opening entry. Foxy as well storms forward. Where's this play from Lycofak? He needs to move more quickly. As he's in a second or two, he's going to be the only one left alive if he's not careful. There we go. Drops the case potentially right at the right time here, leaving only Foxy in the equation here now for a 1v2. He won't be able to adjust quickly enough to fend off the flank, and Lycofak arriving just when he was needed there, just barely is able to save the situation for BDS.
Yeah, the bat signal up and he arrives. Foxy just making that rotation out of Moto as well, so couldn't be more perfectly timed. This BDS will claim the lead yet again here. Oxygen seemingly always on the tailcoats when it comes to Clubhouse, whether it be through strategy or through the scoreboard. BDS just a little bit better than them at the current moment.
Attackers need to locate.
So in round 8 we go, BDS in charge, but like you said, getting that +2 advantage has been nigh impossible for both of these teams, so this is where the rubber hits the road and we get to really see if BDS is putting up that stronger performance when it comes to this map specifically. Overall, this will show us more sight depth too, if BDS is able to successfully lock this one down in a row without needing the repeat. We see that follow through go all the way over to Cash. It's going to be the beginning of the death bells for Oxygen as far as this series is concerned here. But let's see how Oxygen will try to handle that open layout formula by being able to access Jacuzzi, potentially having to pinch it from this side as well. We're seeing the reinforcements go down by the Jaeger. A few changes need to be made to Oxygen's overall lineup too, most notably Foxy going over to the Ying as they want to try and dump that in on Execute to hopefully overwhelm any Insight setup.
BDS looking to make their presence known early in the round, but not going to get the spawn kill that they were looking for. Newers will begin his practices over on the strip club side as he's entering with Yana. Rest of the gang, though, going to be looking for that hard execute, try and get these walls open with the secondary hard breach of Foxy, as well as the regular hard breach of Dream. We'll see what they want to try and apply that torch to momentarily. Looks like we'll just initially be breaking things open on CCTV here for Foxy. He's going to get the single panel, or he's going to go get Jacuzzi? Let's find out here. Got the hatch open here for Logi. Going to get that going on first here. We still haven't seen Dream use any of the fuel inside of his torch either here. So might be a little slow to their initial punch.
Set a bit of a slow wind up here for the Oxygen roster. So we're going to see Dream quickly make work of the Jacuzzi wall here. Maverick, just like we saw from Foxy in the last round, will pop it open over the next 5 to 10 seconds here. The rest of the team, actually quite a few of them, waiting at the bottom of main stairs for a potential swing up through. That'll be quite dangerous if they attempt to commit fully into that one. It's because of the harshness of this angle, but as they move towards it, one of their players will be trapped out a bit. That'll lead to Vertical going into a down state, but Newer still finds the kill, and more importantly, we can bring Vertical back from the depths, so he's back into it once again. And Oxygen has successfully taken control of the top of those main stairs. Still need to go for a swing to get Logi. They're going to go for it, and oh no, the timing is missed by Bride. Newers is able to work himself into it. Shaiko finally begins to spray back out this one, as does Like Effect. Keep in mind, Construction was also never stolen away. Oh, Foxy tries to go directly for the duel against Shaiko, and they both take each other down as a result of a direct trade. 2v2 is now the state of this battle, but it's going to be changing again in a moment, as Newers has also gone down. Dream looking to try and seal things off for his team, but never mind, the Pokeball eliminates his teammate instead. It also knocks out the full damage amount onto him once again, nearly taking him down outright with those impacts here, as he's down to just a sliver of HP here now in the 1v2. Has to back up even further towards the main stairs. It's not looking good for him here.
And EFAC still has a Pokeball as well. Dream's going to adjust back over to the rotation. Nose one is in behind the mattress. A cross angle constantly going to be held by weights. Nobody wanting to move an inch. This round meaning so much to BDS. Every single time EFAC does any of this, he's going to be sending bullets, some shots out, and that's going to be the swing. Unlucky for Dream. He will get taken down there from BDS. So very well played from them, though. Two big picks coming out of Oxygen and still able to make it work. Even without Shaiko, huge trade coming in there for him as he traded himself out for Foxay, and then EFAC and the rest of the gang able to get things done when it mattered most.
A 5-3, two-round lead now on the board for BDS. This is the only time this has happened so far inside of this map. Otherwise, we have traded literally every single round back and forth ever since round 1, going all the way up to round 6. That curse has just, rather round 7. That curse has just now been broken, with BDS closing down on 2 sites in a row. They're going to look to make it 3 in a second. Like I said before, if that ends up coming to fruition, that is very, very bad news for Oxygen, especially when you consider, of course, they just took this tactical timeout. They are trying to figure these issues out now before they become a much bigger issue, and more importantly, before they are forced into a corner and have to win 3 attacks in a row just to bring this to OT.
Well, speaking of unfortunate circumstances, if you guys got a little look at the scoreboard there, you'll definitely see that Oxygen is starting to look a little bit like BDS yesterday. From the midpoint down on the scoreboard, the highest amount of kills happens to be 3 for any of those players. It's all Foxay and Newers right now doing the heavy lifting. This scoreboard has got to do something, because that's the key differences in between these two squads. BDS, I mean, it's even across the entirety of this field. The lowest happens to be Alem at 5. The highest, I believe, is 8. Yeah, EFAC at 8. So not a big difference there. Whereas when you look over at Oxygen's camp, you definitely can't say the same.
No, you cannot. Oxygen, once again, starting to fall behind a little bit on the individual perspective of things. Newers, of course, still lights out as far as his performance is concerned. As I've been mentioning as well, Foxay has been a consistent rock as always inside of this series. Aside from that, who is Oxygen looking to make up the big plays? Unfortunately, just haven't been able to rely on any of the other players aside from the 2 mentioned previously inside of this map so far. But for BDS, it's going much more swimmingly in a much more team-oriented fashion, which is a fix. Some issues they were struggling with yesterday, where it really seemed like only Shaiko can make those effective plays. Foxay ready to quickly burst in through the kitchen, but he's going to be held back, unfortunately, as there is a barricade here. Thankfully, On Ash can quickly deal with that, knock it out of the way. You have to be a little bit careful, though, in the event that there is a member of BDS trying to lurk around this area. They don't want to full commit to it so early.
Well, and funny enough, we are going to have a bar defense here for Team BDS. We saw one from Oxygen, where Oxygen was able to at least make somewhat of a stand on this site, but BDS were pretty quick at being able to take them down and claim the round. Now for BDS, the shoe's on the other foot as they'll be defending said site. Newers working into a very similar situation to what we've been seeing from him whenever he does come in via the strip side. It's going to be the booze right now for him as he's standing inside of stalls, waiting to see if he can potentially get a BDS player on rotation. Oxygen going to start playing around with this Shaiko to take down one. Some nice trades back and forth as Newers will be able to claim Renshiro. Foxay is at least able to pick the case back up, but the big issue now is that they only have the smokes on vertical to try and make a similar play to what they just did.
Newers waiting patiently for an opportunity to try and jump up and shut down this defensive hold upstairs here, but he doesn't want to overplay his hand. That oftentimes has led Oxygen into bad scenarios, as we've seen prior. So he does not want to throw himself into the kettle on that one and potentially roll the dice for it this early on. Still over a minute to be played out. Oxygen kind of meandering around outside of the building here too, figuring out the best path to take on this one. Foxay having to watch out for a potential garage swing in the event that he wants to full commit to the overwatch on this window. At the same time, Vert now moving into position to potentially start swinging himself towards the site. He's going to have to pop out one of those micro smokes to avoid the top-down angle from being visible. As you saw there, the smart glass is alive and well for the Lems. He can see right through that. And as well, like a fact, now able to just spot out Vertical outright, taking him down and removing any additional bolts that would have been thrown out later on. Like a fact as well, good timing there to be able to catch Norris just as he rotates up, but hold on. Members of OXG refuse to go down as of yet here. Foxay now down for the count though, and it leaves everything on to Sweater, but just Shaiko and Like a Fact remain, so it's not an impossible task at all for Sweater, especially now with him getting the revive on Fox. However, the crunch, Like a Fact decides not to full commit to it. Backs away from that one. A new life has been given over to the Oxygen roster. Can they keep it alive, though? The spray from Shaiko not good enough. Both players, though, incredibly low. This has gotten even more difficult, and they've got to still run back outside to grab case control again. As we see Foxay creeping back up, he's got an opportunity to shut this down single-handedly as well. Locks out one of the remaining two here. The denial on the plant is so close for him, but he's got to worry about the 1v1. Suddenly the tables have turned against Shaiko. No! He's found the target too late, but still takes it down. And even better, Foxay rotated back down the stairs to support his teammate. Now Shaiko's got a window. He can swing back down. Does he read this own rotation from Foxay? Do they know he's going the full distance back downstairs? Shaiko, in all honesty, he doesn't care. He's going to go immediately for the counter defuse. Hops off of it when he hears the stair activity. Might have been able to force the issue there, but now back on top of it again. 13 seconds to be able to complete this as once more Foxay picks it and walks right into the angle for Shaiko. He'll get it done instead. That's 6 rounds on the board for BDS.
Bomb diffuser disabled.
I am at a loss for words at what we have just witnessed right here. Shaiko getting away with so much more than any human should be capable of. Oxygen not able to get it over on BDS. Such fantastic defense, especially of this top floor. Shaiko constantly a thorn in their side, whether it be from the window angle that he was holding when they tried to entry there inside of that 2 versus 2, or the verticality coming through where he was able to find that big pick. It doesn't matter. It's all Shaiko at the end of the day, all the time. 10 and 6 for him right now. Bubbling to the surface again is just how much talent this man has at his fingertips. Proving it, putting it on full display there for all of us at home, and really giving it to Oxygen here as he's going to extend that scoreline 6-3.
So Oxygen once again up against the wall here, and this time with a much more difficult task than they have faced in previous maps. 3 consecutive rounds in a row where they've been unable to claim a single one yet on this attacking side. A gargantuan task that's in front of them, and they've already used the tag pause, of course, so no capability to bring that back from the brink either. BDS have returned to the basement, and it's all going to fold onto this one play from OXG. Can they breach past it? Or will BDS have the perfect half for themselves to seal the deal on this series at a 7-3 scoreline?
Well, it's going to be the full roam game here in the basement perspective. BDS looking to shut Oxygen out of Clubhouse. No overtime allowed. They need 3 rounds in a row here, and a great start for Shaiko. He's going to lay this to bed early. Who else better to kill, John, than Newers for your opening kill?
Very much the case. I mean, look at his scoreline as well and just how pervasive he's been inside of this game. Foxay as well. It's going to be the next step to bat to try and make up the difference here with regards to individual prowess that could be brought out to save the day. But as you said, Newers has definitely been the player to look to and was the same thing yesterday as well. And he's now unavailable to help out in any capacity for the rest of this round.
Now Oxygen worse for wear because of it. They have to try and solve this equation down a man. The worst potential thing that you can do, especially with a round that carries this much weight. It's not the way that you want to start things off. In fact, will be discovered for just a moment there as didn't have that logic bomb going off in his pocket. but really nothing else going on across the board for Oxygen or BDS. Both of these teams just awaiting the other one's next move. Oxygen now trying to get themselves in place, as this is starting to look like a dirt take here. Let's see who's got the case. It's going to be Dream, so could potentially go for a kitchen play here. Kind of a kitchen drop moment there is, oh, there we go. Finally able to find Renshiro. I'm really surprised Renshiro didn't move at all with all the bullets tinging the metal bar above him, but I mean, some things happen sometimes. You know, there's a lot of noise that's going on, especially when it comes to land. A lot of communication, just an unfortunate circumstance befalling our BDS member.
Fox8 sitting at the precipice of the site. That drone's still roaming around, causing problems for BDS as well, so a lot of info suddenly going over to Fox8. Hard pings onto at least 2 members of the squad as well here. Sweater can't even fire back against some of it due to the Kunai barricade sitting in his way, so we'll have to try and play around that. Phone call will be moving in the meanwhile, and more importantly, Oxygen in position to go for a plant. Dream able to slap it down onto the ground, no interruption upon him. He completes the set, but Shaiko still takes down 1 member of the team in the process. More importantly though, they've gotten the task achieved, and now it's all into BDS to pull off the retake. Dream continuing to hold the line here as well, picks up 1 more. Vertical, adding another to the stack. Suddenly they're in control, but it's even back out. Like a fact, looking to save the day here as everything falls to Fox8 yet again. And he's upstairs. He's got the top-down angle against this one. Alems and Like a fact need to realize this and counter him back out. Counter defuse had already been started, but they've gotten off it once again. Waiting for the repeak to come back in. Here we go though with the peek. An instant headshot from Fox8, and he knows he's got it. So he's just going to wait this one out now. Alems on it. Jumps off it to try to take the duel, but Fox8 is baiting this out perfectly. Alems knows he has to stick it, but still won't make a difference as Fox8 has had him run out of time and shuts him down to keep OHG alive for at least 1 more round.
Gets him down to the timer. The reposition there from Fox8 is what saves them. Otherwise, really starting to look like a BDS round. Once again, very similar circumstances to the post plant that we have in Bank that we always talk about, how difficult that is for a retake. It's very similar circumstances. You have hatch play right over an area that you want to try and plant, and it's always going to be hard fought trying to combat those angles, especially when you don't have any explosives or anything to really try and deal with some of the soft breach that they could have tried to abuse around Fox8. But Oxygen will stave off the end of this best of 3 as of now. Still need 2 rounds on this offense in order to guarantee overtime.
Need still 2 rounds to go here, and BDS just going for the retry on the same exact site, keeping things pretty much exactly what we had seen previously. Renshiro is actually going to bring in the solo, so potentially expect a bit more of an active roam game this time from the BDS roster if they are going to be looking to use it to try and proactively hunt this down. Realistically, could still be using this as a bunker deployment, though, because I think the utility will still be quite useful in a tense situation like that, so
10 seconds to go.
we'll have to wait and see just how exactly BDS want to play this one out with the 2 rounds they have remaining to end this inside of regulation. Otherwise, another OT will be in the cards to settle this series and settle who's picking up the majority of points from this game.
Well, no quick trigger pull this time around. Was waiting there for just a split second. Didn't know if we were going to have an interaction there on that blue window. Secret window sometimes, you might just have somebody flying in. Shaiko could get in that gunfight right off rip, but no. Going to be going back to basics here with Oxygen. I would not be surprised if EFAC was ready for Newers to start working his way in through Strip if they've been able to recognize that, but no. They don't even know that Newers has done this about 4 times on this offensive side now. He's just going to walk in with a drone and shoot EFAC in the back of the head.
Oxygen with the advantage now. Going to take a few moments to reposition themselves, make sure the next move they make is the correct one as well. Yes, Like a fact goes down, but there's still a few issues that haven't been dealt with, specifically in the upstairs quadrant of the map here. Oxygen currently ignorant of that, but there may be some design behind it. I'm certain that they are aware of it at the minimum, but just maybe choosing to not directly counter it, as they have Overwatch on the angles otherwise. Newers will be able to find out a second target here now as well. Shaiko falling down. Alems begins his descent from his upstairs hold, though, and immediately strikes true, taking down Sweater. The Candelas go in, the plant will go down. Alems is found out on the moto drop. Renshiro and the final player from BDS fall quickly after that as well. So what is happening? BDS losing their mettle, losing their nerve, it seems, as they suddenly just can't close out on a round, let alone a few kills here. And they're very much so going to take a tactical break on this one to try and figure figure out what exactly they need to do on what is going to be the final round of regulation.
Yeah, pretty interesting choice there from BDS to go for the full roam strat, because that's exactly why Oxygen are able to do what they did, which was completely circumnavigate their roaming strategy and get a plant down in the site whilst also holding on to the flank routes. And it worked out extremely well. I mean, Newers was even covering the Moto hatch from inside of Moto and was able to take down, excuse me, I do believe a Lem. So fantastic stuff from them. It seems like, you know, with their back against the wall, really still willing to go that extra length, go the extra mile, and take these fights. No sense of slowing down for them, especially for Newer's sake.
Well, we're getting ourselves back into it. The timeout is going to conclude here in just a moment, so that'll force us back into the game, where we have to wait and see if BDS can solidify themselves. Do they go for the basement defense again? That's the big question here, and we get the immediate answer of no, they do not. They go back upstairs into gym, where we had seen them lock things down earlier on in the half.
Gym bedroom, and no frost mats here for BDS. We're going to have the Malusi here, though, and she will obviously give out some very solid intel, as well as have the ability to slow down Oxygen on their entries. We'll see if Oxygen want to switch up any of their operators when it comes to this top floor. It looks like they will have the hard breach necessary in order to get these walls open, especially if they bring it on Foxe. It's going to make it a little bit easier than trying to operate around Dream's slow fuse timer.
There's going to be any crazy...
Or that works even better, huh? Bring in the thermite, bring in the heavy lifting up.
That'll certainly do the job as well. Still going to be able to knock those walls down sooner rather than later.
10 seconds to go.
With either choice, they will need to make sure they have the appropriate support behind it, however, in the form of those impact EMPs. As obviously Thatcher has been banned out here. So we'll see what exactly they've brought to the table, and indeed they have brought it, of course, on the Dokkaebi there, so it should have the capability to work their way through the bandit batteries, which have been placed over on Jacuzzi, and as well that main balcony too, I think.
All right, Oxygen. Are we going to overtime? It's time to find out. BDS's strategy fully set up and done. Now Oxygen built to break it down. It's going to start here with the CCTV wall, as it'll be a singular Selma and Impact out, just to give them a little semblance of view of what's going on inside of that space, which honestly isn't all that much. BDS mostly focused over on the cache area of things when it comes to that portion of the map, not really trying to step up when it comes to CCTV. They're going to apply another Selma, so Fox now down to 1. Do obviously still have the hard breach here from Dream, so that's going to be used here for the Jacuzzi wall, and that'll be backed up with Sweater as well, who has those EMPs, the master key for the master explosive device to be played onto the Jacuzzi double panel.
We're going to see Oxygen throw out those EMPs in just a second. You can see Sweater attempting to get a drone to the inside, but obviously it's been blocked off by one of the barricades there, so can't make it happen. Selma going to be chucked out as an insurance policy too here. And immediately Newer is also opening up the hatchwork, going back over into Gym here, should it be needed for the initial clear that OXG is going to go for. This BDS, of course, will be looking to still maintain that Gym presence. And Renshiro wrapping around that hatch. Will thankfully not be spotted out immediately, but Newer is actually going up on Repel after he'd opened up that hatch, finds him instead, takes him down through that avenue, and once again strikes true for OXG to give them the opening kill lead.
What an angle. Now Oxygen, they had the lead-off kill again onto Renshiro. Exactly like the last round. Different circumstances, but same result. In fact, looking to see if he can potentially get something going here for himself over on the CCTV side, doing his best to be somewhat of a distraction, but nothing really deterring Oxygen from their main focus at the current moment. Just seeing if any other BDS members want to try and give them something for free. You can see a lot of the angle work happening now as these members wait the arrival of any BDS swings, but just nothing coming. Want to make sure that they try and keep this site locked down. Do not want to give over ease of access to Oxygen in these dying moments.
Dying moments indeed as we enter the final 30 seconds of regulation time. Oxygen not getting that close necessarily to the outright execute, but the player advantages that they've found seem to be setting them up time after time. Again, it's a slow process, but when it closes fast. Bride already the last player standing here for BDS. Overtime seems all but likely now as he tries to fend it off. Maybe not just yet. Foxe needs to plant now. How's he going to play this? Aggressive or for the plant? The shotgun pump comes in, but he's wasted too much time, and BDS sneaking off on the timer. What a play to finish it off for the French roster.
You pay that man his money. Brede, time and time again, so very impressive. Whenever his name is called up, John, he always makes sure that it goes their way. And this time it happens again. Oxygen gonna be head and hands here. You know how very close they were to just ending
they had it.
Godly streak that BDS had on this map.
They played everything correctly. They necessarily didn't do anything wrong there. It just came down to Brede's clutch, and unfortunately, he had far too much firepower for the situation. He bests them out instead, and it's moments like that that make players great here, as BDS is able to surge past Oxygen, best them here in a full 3-map series that nearly goes the full distance on all 3 maps as well. They're beautifully done once again by the BDS roster, as they ultimately take it 2-1 at the end of the day, and we'll get the lion's share of points from this game.
Yeah, I mean, what a better way, to do it than in the pursuit of a hammer. You just won a major, and now you're bouncing back after yesterday, where they lost to Cyclops, to finally get a best of 3 under your belt. Welcome back to the desk, by the way, everybody. Good to see you. What a game to wrap up the last portion of our day here on day 2, John.
Absolutely the case. Great to see once again the Oxygen overall able to keep up with things. In my opinion, a little bit bumpy on Bank to start things out for themselves, but coming back much more strongly, obviously, into the second map, because they won it. And the third map, I honestly think that should have gone to overtime at the end of the day. Just one small mistake made at the end of the round sealed the deal for them. Very unfortunate for OXG's sake, but I don't think they have anything to be sad about necessarily here. Definitely need to take a bit of a deeper look at the maps, but I still think they're on solid footing for the rest of this group stage right now.
I totally agree with you. You can't fault them for losing to somebody like Brede. The man's just extremely talented. That's why he's been on that roster for so long, and, they have so much admiration and trust in him. So, give it up to BDS, especially for bouncing back after such a convincing loss yesterday. I mean, nobody really doing all that much. It was the Shiko show, and then today it's a full team onslaught coming out of BDS. I really, really respect the resilience here at the tournament so far.
A great play from both of these teams indeed here, but once again, it all does fall back onto our players over on BDS as they are able to take control of this one, and that rounds out a very long day of games here on the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's been fun for us. Keep in mind, we're going to be back tomorrow with more of them as well. I think we're coming back bright and early in the morning, so hopefully see you folks then. We do have one more final desk segment to show you guys before we go home for the night, though, so let's send you to a break, and then when we come back, we'll have the desk ready to break things down.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a 2-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position. That is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
I am not going to lie, I was a little bit worried about BDS after their loss yesterday, but a return to form tonight against OXG. And Jesse, you're like, Jackie, that is one of the best maps we've seen so far.
That was crazy. Do you see the end of that game, Jackie?
Amazing.
We had, with the closed gym round, ended up being a bit of a 2v2. Then we had Shaiko popping off in the 1v1, defusing on bar. And then the final round, Burrito hitting the 1v3 to close it out after the perfect tack timeout from BDS. Oh, it just doesn't get better. I mean, it's kind of painful for NA fans, I know, I'm sorry. But in terms of good seed, in terms of hype games, it doesn't really get better than that.
This was just a case where I couldn't lose. It was either a North American team was going to win or BDS was going to, do I say it? Do I say it at SI? Do I actually say it?
Say it.
You can't tease saying it and then not say it.
BDS took a thing.
There you go.
Oh, the camera wasn't even looking at me when I said that. Wow.
Waited too long? That's 100%
I was just trying to milk it for all that it was worth. Look, I love the fact that we saw BDS finally win something, especially after that CAG loss, and it does put what OXG were trying to do in this game a bit more in perspective. They wanted to come in, they wanted to prove it. They were very close, but it just came down to map 3. Everything that they did on map 3 was far too close for comfort. It didn't start out great because BDS are one of the most prolific bank teams ever, and this just kind of descended from here.
I mean, it did start out great. Newers was like 4-1 first couple of rounds, but it very quickly, yeah, as you kind of alluded to, spiraled out of control. They only got one more in the next 8. Of course, that's a 7-3 game. Tough for them there.
Yeah, and Jesse, we were chatting about this a lot in the green room, but Sweater's performance. You know, he didn't perform well yesterday. Map 1 here, not strong either.
A lot of opening deaths, for sure. I mean, it's tough being an entry when you're up against Shaiko and Lickifak, right? that's a tall task, and I think Sweater definitely was struggling a little bit. He got the very first opening pick of the game over Shaiko, and then Shaiko got a little upset about that. He answered back more than a couple times over. So it was tough for sure, map 1 for Sweater. I think he improved a little bit.
Sweater was better?
Yeah, Sweater was a little better.
Sweater got a little better, but then by the end of it, he was the bottom ranked player in the lobby.
Ouch.
That's kind of how things work out. Especially, like, it feels like whenever you compare somebody against Shaiko and then they don't show up, that's just going to show that Shaiko is always going to be a constant. There is very few forces in the universe that will ever take him out of his zone. If the planets come out of alignment and for some reason Shaiko's bottom of a lobby, then the world's going to collapse in on itself. But that's not something we saw. Newers, for his own part, still had decent stats across every map in the series. Yeah. But we also put him on that pedestal. We were wondering if he was going to continue the same performance. It was okay, but it wasn't Shaiko level, and Shaiko continues performing at the same level more consistently than I think probably anybody else in professional Siege. It's unreal.
Perhaps a bit premature for Newers.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit. That's on us. That, like, I know he's going to watch this later. I know his dad's watching this because he always tweets at me. That's our bet.
Okay, well, I think we've established it was the Shaiko show for sure. But I do want to talk about map 2 a little bit more. And OXG performed well there. They got their map pick, correcting myself there. But I really want to talk about Vertical because he was kind of the MVP of Border.
Yeah, I thought Vertical really stepped that up game 2, was a big reason why they were able to win there in that second map pick. It did feel like he was kind of... He was having a bit of a reign of terror, honestly. He was often not the entry, right? That's still kind of the territory of both Sweater and Newers, but he was in that late round, right? Finding a frag here, flicking over, finding another frag there. I think the couple of rounds that they were winning on attack, particularly at the end there, really did work, just with some little swings, shutting down what BDS were doing. We saw an amazing battle of attack timeouts at the end of that game as well. We saw Oxygen start to take a couple too many rounds. BDS immediately called that attack. They win 2 right back. They start playing a little more aggressive to go for a few more of those swings. And then what did Oxygen do? They call the attack timeout right back. Redeemer calls it, and they start expecting that. Really, really well done coming in from both coaches in that game. But ultimately, of course, Oxygen are on top.
So, Jacob, what do you think BDS was thinking after map 2? Do you think they were still feeling confident, or were they a little bit shaken by that?
Not really, because I think Border was probably the one really good thing that OXG did in the whole ban phase. It was a map that they lost to CAG yesterday, and it was a map that Astralis lost to Oxygen, and that was what OXG's thinking was. Because our opponents lost it yesterday, we won it yesterday, let's take what we have from those first 2 games and let's apply it here. Let's see what we can do. And it turns into a 7-5, and we just kind of go from there. But map 3 already had a BDS lean when we went into it in terms of overall overall times played and in terms of how often they'd won it. So that wasn't something that I think they should nearly have been concerned with. OXG probably lost this in ban phase given how close this was. If you're looking for really like micro things to nitpick, there aren't too many of them until you get to club and then attacks start falling apart. It's a 3-3. It seems like it's pretty like decent halfway through, and then they start out on attack trying to be aggressive, trying to give Newers that space, and then something takes a chunk out of their attack right in the middle and they can't finish. And then when they start getting their attacks together, by that point BDS exists. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we got close enough in so many of those late Clubhouse rounds that could have gone either way. I props to Oxygen for doing so well on a map that BDS are known to be the kings of when it comes to Clubhouse. Yeah, I think it's maybe a scary choice at the start here, but I think they proved that like they can take it on Clubhouse, right? I think this is still going to be a very strong map for Oxygen going forward. I don't think they should be ashamed of their club play here. They're not going to be happy with it, of course, 7-5, but yeah, it is what it is, right? It could have gone another way easily.
A map like this is also going to test that relationship between Sweater and Vertical a lot. This is probably where figuring out where the two of them are intended to play and at what times and where they're meant to be positioned matters a lot. And the thing is, BDS don't change their Clubhouse very much. They can play this map the exact same way consistently and always find success against a myriad of teams and a myriad of skill levels. And for OXG to finally find a way to crack through it is great, but it just came at the very, very end, and I do blame the timing of the way that they were trying to speed things up.
So, I mean, honestly, BDS was strong and steady. I know there was a little bit of a comeback on map 3 with OXG, but how did BDS hold them off? I mean, I was starting to get a little bit nervous for them.
I mean, it was a little shaky, right,
yeah,
Jackie? It came down to some very close rounds. We saw, I gotta talk about that Shaiko clutch again. I'm sure it's gonna pop up very soon here on the highlights. Playing on the Azami, being able to get that disabled down. I really felt like this was a heavy frag-focused game. A lot of the times the entries were super important for who ended up winning the round overall. We got a lot of kind of trades back and forth, and I think if you're gonna scale things down, look at the final half of Clubhouse, the trade game is probably where BDS did come out on top of Oxygen. OXG would sometimes get those picks, BDS would sometimes get those picks, but it was oftentimes Oxygen who weren't able to find the recovery if they did lose that opening kill. I think that's kind of what it came down to. Also, just the clutch plays. You can't deny it. The 1v1 and the 1v3, just fantastic plays for Siege.
Found a pretty good way to sum this up. Felt like this whole series was a microcosm of what the meta is at the moment. When you're talking about things not being nearly as tactical oriented, people have tried to find ways of defining it. When it is very run and gun, when you're not focusing nearly as much on the objective, you're not planting nearly as frequently. That was something that didn't happen very often in this matchup period. So the fact that we saw this game get as close as it did, down to the wire, and it's all clutch plays, it's all down to kills, that's just kind of what it felt like to me.
Okay, I mean, I feel like we've already said this name maybe 2 billion times.
Shaiko's MVP.
Yeah.
Yay!
That's my job. Come on.
Sorry.
Maybe this is
Shaiko's MVP, everybody.
Maybe this is not.
We are excited. I mean,
sure,
he's amazing.
Sure, and I really want to say, like, it wasn't just Shaiko today. They put on such a team performance that I don't think you can say Shaiko was like the only reason they won this. Of course, Shaiko is the best player in the world. Let's just say it. He's going to be the MVP in a game like this, which goes so hard and they're so frag heavy. And particularly, I think you go back to his opening frags, just insane 10-4 on entry, how he managed to pull that off so consistently. But everybody on BDS deserves praise for this game because they just played so well.
Yeah, I mean, BDS clutching to League of Fact having one of the most solid performances from somebody who's only been a pro for 6 months. All of that is a massive contributing factor to Shaiko having a stat line like this, and he might get all the glory, he might get all the credit, which is exactly what he's been doing. He helped drag BDS as a brand new org from the trenches into a noteworthy team within about 9 months of his return back in 2019, and that exact same trend continues here. So if you're concerned about BDS after that CAG loss, you can be a little bit less after that win against Oxygen tonight.
Okay, we only have a little bit of time left, but I really want to ask both of you this. So, BDS back on track now?
Yeah.
I think. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly they're not the cleanest wins. They got to go to 3 maps. They got to win some clutches. But that's what this team does. They win their clutches. They win their games when it matters. They get their important rounds. And yeah, they're looking fantastic still.
BDS are going to be fine. I think OXG are also going to be fine.
Yes. Oxygen also look great.
Yeah, I think because CAG lost earlier, so it's not to say that CAG are suddenly this world beater literally out of nowhere that no one was expecting. They beat an Astralis team that we had some question marks about, and you still managed to take a world-class team like BDS all the way down to the wire. Honestly, I think both teams, in spite of being 1-1 right now, are going to make this group super competitive.
Okay, Jacob, Jesse, I had so much fun with y'all. Day 2.
Aw, we had fun with you.
I know, you guys are great. But you're free now. But all of you at home, don't go anywhere. We have the Stream B post show, so we'll be back in a flash. You're already closing your laptop? We hadn't even gone to break.